Salutations, Legion of Doom. Welcome to Podcast of the Storm, where social awkward outcasts, crazy reels, and all around nerds convey to talk and debate all things pop culture. With me, as always, is my co-host, the Nerdy Caucus, aka the Authenticator, Dalton L. Mortimer.
Good evening, everyone.
And I am your host, last time or wannabe, the Brainstorm of Pop Culture. How's everyone doing tonight?
I am doing well, mostly bored. This was a very long week, actually. I don't know why it feels so much longer than normal weeks, but it does.
Hello, Dragon Turtle. Actually, right on time this time, he says.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, so there's a few things that were brought to my attention before stream. So, regarding some things. One, regarding the Discord links in the description. What I typically do is I only set those for like a week. I don't set them permanently on the descriptions. So I just kind of every time we do a podcast every week, I just have that. I just set a new link, and it's open for a week. So what else? Oh yeah, got a lot of stuff tonight. Mostly trailers. We're going to actually finish the thing we started last week, but due to a lot of things that happened last week, we couldn't finish. So
the last couple weeks have been busy because it was one of those weeks where just everyone decided to drop trailers and articles and things. So
so we'll get to that. But first, the article that we did not finish. Sapped our souls a bit, maybe.
Yeah, because there's only so much stupid per square inch that you can take before you have to literally just stop and pause and parse everything.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on. Yep.
The Vice article of the MCU is not art. Or actually, hold on. Sorry, I just want to check. So that's the Marvel Cinematic Universe isn't art.
Yeah.
And for simplicity's sake, I am going to start where we had started last week, but did not finish. Just so we have some context for things.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Oh, right. This is again. Just so I don't. Okay. It's written by Patrick Marlborough. If I said the last name wrong, I'm sorry. And this was published June 3rd, 2022.
Honestly, given the stupidity in this article, I have to wonder if he hasn't been smoking far too many Marlboros.
I don't get it.
It's a brand of cigarette, if anyone didn't get the joke.
I don't smoke, so I don't.
Nor should you. It's bad.
Well, tobacco, at least.
Well, I'm gonna sound like a complete hipster here for a second, but if we used tobacco shamanically like the Native Americans did, it wouldn't be a problem. The problem is that when Europeans got to America, they went, hey, this thing that shamans use in a very particular, very ritualistic sense, let's just use it recreationally for fun because reasons, derp.
Okay, that's fair. I was more talking like weed and stuff. Granted, I don't do that personally.
Yeah, no. I don't really have a drug of choice. I don't even really like drinking alcohol. I have one drink every now and again, and then I stop at one drink. Mostly because my family is lousy with alcoholics on both sides, and I don't feel the need to become an alcoholic. Also, I really don't like the feel of being
Drunk.
intoxicated with drink because it's too fucking quiet in my head.
Okay. Anyway, I more just do it since I kind of care about my body a bit.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, okay, so yeah, okay. Take for instance the Disney Plus show Moon Knight, starring Oscar Isaac playing a character with dissociative identity disorder (DID). Whether or not Moon Knight's representation of the disorder is truthful or accurate or silly is ultimately irrelevant. By subsumizing. No, that's
I think it is subsuming. I think you had it right the first time.
I've just never heard that word before, so I wasn't.
It means like absorbing or taking under the aegis of.
Okay, that does make sense given what I've just read. Next part of the sentence. So, by subsuming something as complicated and multivarious as the idea into the MCU, the complexities of representation in the old artistic sense of the word are made immediately relevant.
Okay, here's the thing. The thing you are referring to as subsuming is actually just using as a narrative point or a piece of the world. I.e., what they're doing is referencing the fact that DID exists and using it for plot and character reasons. But because you are pathologically uncharitable with the MCU, because arbitrary abstract reasons, when something references when the MCU references something complicated like DID and uses it as a main thrust of a plot, you can't see it as a good thing like you would with any other piece of art. Oh, look, they reference something incredibly complex and they're using it as the main thrust of a character. Under normal artistic circumstances, that would be considered a good thing because it would lead to things like the complexity and multivariedness of the world and the fact that it can incorporate many disparate elements into itself and still maintain cohesion. Normally, that would be a good standard for a piece of art to aspire to and be held to. But because you've already invalidated the MCU in the abstract, instead of giving it the compliment of you were able to touch on something complex like DID and work it into your world building without breaking immersion or breaking suspension of disbelief. Normally, that would be a compliment, but because you don't like the MCU, all of a sudden it becomes you're disingenuously co-opting this thing that I would normally give shows compliments for doing. Derp. And by the way, what we now refer to as DID, or what was once referred to as multiple personality disorder, has been crucial to Moon Knight since I believe the 70s, so it's not new. It's just the MCU doing what the comics have been doing. Again, I want to say since the 70s.
So, I mean, you can make a lot of arguments on Moon Knight on the show, on the MCU's Moon Knight, because it's not like, besides the fact that I don't about the DID thing, it's not particularly a good show either.
No, it takes 6 episodes to do what should have been done in 1 episode.
Or like the it's actually a major problem I've kind of noticed with a lot of the MCU Disney Plus shows.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I stated this last week, but to kind of get a little more into it, is like the pacing of it is like it only has 6 episodes, and it doesn't. Unlike some of the episodes, that just kind of just don't. Like it's technically a mini series,
Yeah.
but they treat it like it's a full on like 26 episode or 22 episode season.
And instead, be happy with 6 hours, you idiots, is what we're being told.
Yeah, it's the weirdest thing on the fact that it just
trying to cram 20 episodes of content into 6 episodes while also simultaneously managing to not get to the point and also focus far too much on filler.
It also feel empty as well.
Yeah,
It's a weird
it
thing, right?
the problem I have with a lot of the MCU shows, and this kind of is an extension of something I find wrong with the MCU in general, is they spend so much time alluding to the fact that they will get into things later, and then later never comes. That they'll drop hints to bigger things to come and bigger things to come and yet more bigger things to come.
Right.
And then when later comes, they either backtrack on half the shit they were setting up, Ralph Boner, cough, or it's ultimately underwhelming because they forget all the moving parts and then it's all half-assed.
It's so weird, like, and the thing is also kind of I'm gonna sound so fucking pretentious and like a dick, but it's the misrepresentation of the source material, specifically with Moon Knight that I noticed. Mainly because
Yeah.
that character, because I get it, it's a Disney thing, so they kind of have to censor it a bit. I totally get that, but Moon Knight as a character, and any fans of Moon Knight in the comments right now, feel free to either back me up or discredit me here. To my knowledge of the character and the research I've done in him, he is a violent anti-hero, or anti-hero, because he does. Yeah. But
because he's literally the avatar of the god of lunatics.
Also, the fist, described as the Fist of Vengeance. I guess one of his titles. Hello, Ed Brewer. Said it, yo.
Hey, Ed, how are you doing?
And there's very little violence, which I could be okay with if they wanted to do a character study.
Well, the issue fundamentally is, like we were just alluding to, there's very little actual Moon Knight going on in this Moon Knight show. And that's fine to a degree because I understand that season 1 is kind of his origin story. But again, the fundamental issue is you had 6 episodes to play with. You could have gotten all of what was accomplished in these 6 episodes done in the first episode, and then the next 5 episodes could have been Moon Knight doing Moon Knight things. But instead, you spaced out all of the reveals and all of the content of one singular solid good episode into 6 episodes of mostly filler and personal shit, and there's very little actual Moon Knighting going on. Which, granted, they're probably going to fix in season 2 when Moon Knight has been established and we'll see Moon Knighting. But at some point, you have to actually get to the part where Moon Knight does Moon Knight things. Same thing with WandaVision. You could have had each episode be double length, and then you could have accomplished in 5 episodes or 4 episodes, with the last episode just being movie length, what was accomplished in 9 episodes. Same thing with Loki, and so on and so forth.
The thing is also the kind of false promises that were given, to my recollection of like the promotion for this show.
Yeah, they were all the action shots.
Not even that. No, I'm talking about like Kevin Feige saying like, it's supposed to be like this big, and like it's kind of more edgy, it's more darker and stuff, but it's not really. It's pretty clean and cut Disney superhero stuff.
Yeah, again, it's very much 1 step forward and 2 steps back, as is the case with most of Phase 4 already. They'll do one interesting thing, and then they'll pull it back. They'll do one interesting thing, and then they'll pull it back. And eventually, it's like, guys, it's been 10 years. We're on board. We've been on board this entire time, waiting for you to get to the good shit. Because you kept saying, "Give us a little bit more time, guys, and we'll get to the good shit." And I'm like, okay, it's been 10 years and change. I'm well aware that I'm a picky bitch, as Brainstormer always says, but I
do.
don't think waiting for 10 years to get to the good stuff is uncharitable. So, here's my question. Am I going to have to wait another 10 years before we actually get to the stuff that I came for? Or are you going to start delivering on your promises, MCU?
How? Okay. That was a whole tangent, but I mean, overall, like he's not. Besides the ID thing, which I can kind of understand if you want to like accurately portray it, which I mean, that really depends because I believe it is very different depending on the individual.
It's one of those disorders whose symptoms vary depending on who is being like what
Right.
specific case you're talking about. But the other
Right.
the other thing is the other thing is with the DID thing, um, there's no way in hell that Moon Knight, the MCU's Moon Knight, is going to go anywhere near as far with the DID in superhero comics context than M. Night Shyamalan's superhero trilogy already did with Split and Glass. Which, to be fair, I think that if Glass and Split didn't exist, they would never have been able to make Moon Knight. It was Split and Glass that made Kevin Feige go, okay, so we can actually do a character with the ID in comic book media and it won't seem weird. But that being said, they're never going to be able to allow Moon Knight to go as far as the Beast did in the M. Night Shyamalan superhero trilogy.
Right. Yeah, it's there are a lot of problems with the Disney Plus shows, and we on like technical levels and story level as well that we
Mm-hmm.
just covered. So the representation of DID, well, can be important. I think is inconsequential to everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Again, like pacing, like writing, plot, character as well, and also like just kind of a general lack of creativity. Because I mean, like there are some really good shots in Moon Knight, but they're more. I don't know. They're just sometimes it doesn't feel as weird or mind bending. Which again, first season could understand that. It's a whole thing. Um, give us a moment, Grand Control, as I want to continue this.
Yeah, well,
We just started.
yeah. Let's get going, and then we'll address the chat after a bit.
Yeah. All right. It is smoothed down, plasticized, and drained so that it can fit harmlessly alongside the MCU's representation of mass death, Avengers: Age of Ultron, Black Radicalism, Black Panther, and PTSD, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Another token placeholder in a blank cardboard puzzle.
You mean it's able to be organically incorporated alongside all those other elements, which again, under normal circumstances, would be a compliment you would give to something that they have all these moving parts and can make them coexist with each other. But because you've taken it into your heart to dislike the MCU, all of a sudden this thing that is good in every other context is not good in this context because I've already declared that this is invalid, don't you know, derp. And just so we're clear, so I can philosophically smirk one more time, need I remind you, you have not defined your terms this entire time. You have arbitrarily selected the term art, and you have arbitrarily selected the term content, and you have arbitrarily selected the term subsuming, and arbitrarily selected the term representation, and you have not provided a single coherent definition for what makes the distinction between any of these things that are very, very comparable in an informal context. Because art and content are all but interchangeable, except in a very, very arbitrary, subjective way. So the burden is on you to define it. Subsuming and representation are very similar, and you have to actually go through the process of defining it, but you have not. You have failed, and you're basically declaring from on high, because you're a fucking authority on the matter for some reason, that your particular lexicon is better than everyone else's lexicon, even if you can't define what you fucking mean by it.
Moving on.
Yep. Moving
Alright. No, I don't have anything to say. I thought I did, but no. No, you covered everything.
on. Okay. Moving
Well,
forward.
Well, actually, generally,
Okay. No, go ahead.
yeah, okay. So, generally, like what was said is like I could kind of understand like the skirting of certain subjects that affect the MCU overall, but I'm also willing to accept that the fact that they are movies, and apparently there are a lot of like tie-in comics and stuff that explain a lot of things in between them.
Mm-hmm.
Totally get that. Granted, average moviegoers aren't going to do that. Look into that and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's just like they do address some things, like the Sokovia Accords is like a direct reference to Age of Ultron, what happened, and I mean, unfortunately, because of Chadwick Bosewick's passing, I don't think we're gonna really.
Boseman, but yes.
Yeah, Bosewick. Sorry, yeah.
Boseman.
Bosewick.
You did it again.
I said it right the first time, though.
No, you didn't. You said Boswick both times. It's Boseman.
Chadwick Boseman. Sorry, I have trouble with names. Okay.
Yeah. I just don't want people to see this and then go, "Her racism. You didn't get his name right." So yeah.
I'm very tired because usually around the time I start getting ready to go to bed.
But this is YouTube, and the algorithms don't like us, and we are capable of being quote mined. So just covering our asses.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Chadwick Boseman. Unfortunately, he did pass. But I would believe that had he lived, the Black Panther trilogy would have explored more of ideas that were set up in the first movie, as trilogies often do.
Yeah. And I fully suspect that the narrative through line of Black Panther 2 is going to have to deal with T'Challa dying off screen and Shuri and M'Baku sharing the burden of taking over.
Yeah. And also the Falcon and the Winter Soldier series, and we talked a lot when that series was coming out.
Oh God, that is by far the worst one of the lot, honestly.
I think mainly it's just because it doesn't know what story it wants to tell.
Because it's not actually interested in telling a story. It's interested in painting whatever story they feel like telling with whatever political points they want to tell.
But the thing is, okay, I can understand Captain America, like a Captain America property or characters surrounding Captain America that are in a political story. I could totally understand that.
Yeah, but Winter Soldier managed to do that without ever making it explicitly political.
Yeah, like it was more.
So did Civil War, and yet, we never saw supervillain Antifa that we can't for some reason call supervillains in any of those. But in Falcon and Winter Soldier, no, we got supervillain Antifa that we also can't call supervillain Antifa because they're in the moral right because the writers say so, don't you know? So.
Yeah, it's a whole weird thing. But again, a lot of the things is like some of these things kind of were doing build up to things, specifically with Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which is a shame because I think it would have been really interesting to explore the story of those two guys who are friends at different points in Captain America, Steve Rogers' life, and how they would interact because we never really got to see that And I think that was actually like the best part of that series.
Yeah.
That John Walker, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, the what Falcon and Winter Soldier easily should have and could have been is neither Bucky nor Sam takes the shield because they both realize that they're not qualified to fill Steve's shoes. So they decide to basically form a buddy cop duo and try to fill it together. But no, instead of that, we have Sam taking over because reasons, and also despite the fact that the powers of Captain America are kind of important to the character of Captain America, he doesn't take the serum even though he has the capacity to because also reasons. And by the way, the villains are also Supervillain Antifa, who we can't call villains and we can't call Supervillain Antifa further because more reasons.
Right. Also, Isaiah Bradley was really cool.
Yeah.
Like that actor gave his all in those scenes. But yeah, it's like yeah, it is a issue that I have with certain Marvel movies and shows that touch upon certain topics but don't really explore them as much.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's an overall issue I have with a lot of shows and stuff today.
Yeah,
That they-
you open the box in a mad dash to say a thing, but then you're too
chicken.
you're too castrated to actually be willing to say anything while you're saying things.
Yeah, it's weird. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah,
right.
Moving on.
In the MCU, in the MCU, ideas and identities are represented in the same way the idea of snap, crackle, and pop are represented on a cereal box. There's the sense that any of it can be cut out or pasted in without the viewer feeling much of anything.
No. It's all consistent with each other because it's in the same universe and therefore needs to be cohesive and coherent, which again, if we were reading the Bizarro World version of this article would be the angle that the Bizarro version of Patrick would take, in that under normal circumstances, being a cohesive and coherent universe that can simultaneously be multifaceted but all still fit together consistently would be a compliment, not an insult. But because you've taken it into your heart to dislike and belittle and invalidate the MCU, all of a sudden, what would otherwise be considered a good thing is not a good thing, and what is considered a bad thing under most normal circumstances is what you actually want because reasons. You just want to see the MCU ruined because you consider it to be morally and intellectually invalid for some reason. You still can't define what you mean by any of this either, which is the other funny thing.
No.
Yep.
All right. Be It a Gay Kiss chopped for release in some Middle Eastern countries.
Okay, yes, it was very stupid and very evil of Disney to cuck to the CCP when releasing Eternals.
Wait.
However,
what are they talking about? Oh, Eternals.
The Eternals kiss.
There was a gay kiss in there?
Yeah.
To be fair, I didn't really pay much attention to that movie when I was watching it.
No one did because
it's so boring.
Because aside from all of the moral gobbledygook, the bigger issue with Eternals is that A, it was dull as sin, and B, was a not just mistake, not just a failure to live up to the source material, but in many cases a deliberate, conscious, and willful inversion of everything that everyone would have liked about the source material that has worked no less than 3 times in the MCU already, and is about to work a 4th time, and has worked for the opposition, aka DC, at least twice now, and soon going to be 4 times as well, because Aquaman and Shazam.
Right.
Too, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, God, like honestly, my major issue with Eternals is it's just so fucking boring and pretentious. You know, like it acts.
Yeah.
Like it insists upon itself.
It's trying to.
To quote Peter Griffin about his opinion on the Godfather.
Godfather, yeah, that is one of his best, like, quips or rants or whatever. Like that's one of the best scenes in Family Guy history.
Yeah, it's just that movie just insists upon itself. Like
It does, and the thing is, what it insists upon is not the actual quality of the material, is not the actual substance of the material, because that, in most cases, is referred to as sincerity. When you insist upon the qualities that are inherent to a piece of art, that's sincerity. But instead of being sincere and embracing comic bookiness or the particular cosmic zaniness of Jack Kirby's The Eternals, what it insists upon is the dour, gray, nihilistic, grim, dark, artsy fartsy, Oscar bait crap that modern day artists love to do, instead of being sincere or acknowledging value exists in the material rather than external to it.
Yeah.
It's art as a means to an end rather than an end in itself. And that is, aside from all the moral gobbledygook, aside from representation, is more of a problem. To hell with moral concerns when you can't even be arsed to deal with quality concerns. It's just like Pureflix movies on the opposite side. Almost nobody, even Christians, like Pureflix movies. Why? Because Pureflix movies, for the most part, there are a few exceptions, are Christian propaganda pieces first and pieces of art a distant second. Hence, any quality that could be obtained by just letting them be pieces of art is now obliterated by preaching morality.
Yeah.
And just like that, with regards to social justice, movies like Birds of Prey, movies like Captain Marvel, movies like Eternals are so concerned with being morally correct that they don't even believe that qualitatively correct is even a thing to be aspired to. And surprise, fucking surprise, therefore they end up therefore with something that is morally correct in the schema of social justice, but qualitatively unwatchable.
Alright. You know?
Yep.
CIA agent teaming up with our hero to overthrow an African ruler or ending half the life in the universe with a click of your fingers. There is an irreverence to what this content claims to represent that has a whiff of the listicle to it.
My friends, of the two pieces of media we have in front of us, sir, the MCU and this article about the MCU, which of them do you think is closer to a listicle? Because I've never seen an MCU movie stop dead to just randomly list things. However, you, sir, are listing half-assed excuses as to why you don't like the MCU, and you can't even be bothered to make arguments or defend your position by defining your terms. So, before go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna. Sorry, it's just why the fuck and why do these articles always insist on using like these really big words?
Because it's an intellectual power trip. It's literally going, look at me. I have the aristocratic decorum and proper education to use these words. And if you don't understand these words, then you are an intellectually bankrupt peasant.
So what you do sometimes?
No.
I'm sorry. That was a bad joke. I thought it was funny. That's my
Yeah.
bad.
I appreciate what you're trying to do, but nevertheless, boot to the head. But
I've actually seen that. I've seen that skit.
Yeah. Funnily enough, there's a scene in the most recent Dresden Files book where they actually make a reference to that. That's how I learned about that song. And yes, there's a song too.
I didn't know there was a song. I just seen the skit. Anyway,
I'll
please
have to
continue.
send it to you.
Please continue. Point. Sorry.
But my point is that if we truly are going to consider randomly just spouting random things in the format of a listicle to be some sort of invalidating factor, sir, then you and your ilk are much closer to being listicle fodder than the MCU is. Because as you just alluded to, the MCU doesn't grandstand and equivocate and intellectualize most often. Again, Thor the Dark World, Captain Marvel, and Eternals notwithstanding, um, the MCU usually allows things to breathe and be organic, which again, in a more intellectually honest version of this article, could be considered a positive thing. And see, this is why I take such issue with you. Your only evidence for this negative thing you want to impugn the MCU with is something that in 5 seconds can be reframed as a good thing. It's not even arguable. In fact, the framing of it being a good thing holds more water and is more substantive and more intellectually honest than framing it as a bad thing. For example, the ability to once again have complexity and have various different elements from various different sides of the universe coexisting in a consistent way and not interfering with each other or not taking someone's self so seriously that they grandstand, intellectualize, and equivocate about these things. They just let them exist. And again, under normal artistic circumstances, these would be considered good things. The fact that it doesn't take itself too seriously, the fact that it can make all these moving parts work fairly seamlessly together, the fact that it doesn't need to moralize or politicize every goddamn thing at the time. But because you are starting from the axiom, from the premise that the MCU is bad, you can look at objectively good qualities that you would call good in any other context, and all of a sudden they become bad qualities, not for any argumentative reasons, i.e., not in any way that you can meaningfully explain or define, but just because you arbitrarily and subjectively say so. And given that one side of this argument has actual evidence, and the other side of this argument has to subjectivize and arbitrary make arbitrary that same evidence in order to reframe it as bad, I'm going to go ahead and say that you are not making the anti-MCU side of this argument look very good, sir, because all you're doing is reminding people that this bad thing that you're claiming exists would be a good thing in any other context, therefore showing just how facile your argument is. Not to mention, once again, that you won't refine or define anything you say, you just arbitrarily declare it based on abstract authority. Moving on.
All right. It doesn't matter how or why something appears, just so long as it does, reducing it to the importance of a fan wild stub, as much a part of the MCU canon as Mjolnir or Howard the Duck.
I literally don't know what point you're making, because because there is in-universe logical reasons for these things.
Oh, sorry, I misread a word. Wiki, like a fan wiki stub. That's my bad.
Oh, okay. Well, but that's neither here nor there. It doesn't really change the effect of the sentence. My point is that if you actually pull your head out of your metaphorical rectum, sir, and looked at the MCU from its own internal logic, you would know there are internally logically consistent reasons why these things happen in this order, generally speaking. But the other thing is, you claim, or you did claim in the last half of this, or the previous half of this article, that it takes its own internal logic too seriously. So which is it? Does it never explain anything and arbitrarily just throws random shit at the wall? Or does it take its own internal logic so seriously that you find it pretentious? You can't have both of these simultaneously be true, because they kind of contravene each other. If they should take their internal logic seriously, then it's not arbitrary or thrown at random, because they have internal logical justifications for it. And if they do take their internal logic too seriously, then you should be happy when things happen more randomly and don't take themselves too seriously. But this is the kind of argument we find ourselves in. Things that should be good aren't because I say so, and the opposite of the things that should be good but aren't are also bad because I say so. So you can look at black and white and claim that they are both wrong because they're not gray. And then when somebody presents the missing gray portion of your color spectrum to you, you say, "Well, that's too arbitrary and too unclear. Why are there so many shades of gray? Why are there no hard and fast black and white areas?" And then when we present those to you, you spontaneously forget your previous argument and say, "Why are there no shades of gray?" It's round and round we go. In your mind, the MCU can do no right, no matter how many substantive arguments people make in defense of it, and how much you fail to make them in detraction of it. Moving on.
Okay, one more paragraph, then we'll cover some of the comments.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Its mere presence allows the proliferation
Yes.
of more content, be it fanfiction, YouTuber Easter egg listicles, or articles like this one. Beauty of the MCU's content Moloch is that it feeds into the great ocean of content that fills our every waking minute online and off. A great big reciprocal laundry of ideas and images that bloom and blessed as blips of light on the infinite horizon of digital media. Wow, that is fucking, that's artsy.
You have just admitted, sir, that you writing this article is part of the problem. So how about instead of adding yet another article about the MCU into the annals of internet history, you could have abstained from making this article. Just like you're advocating everyone else should do. But you're different, you see, because you have an actual point to make somehow, even though you have yet to make one because you refuse to define any terms or make any goddamn arguments. You just declare things from on high like you're the fucking Pliny the fucking Elder or something. But it's different when I do it because I'm a valid person, and all those other people who make their living doing exactly what I'm doing now are invalid people and doing it for the wrong reasons. Derp.
Right.
This is what I mean. There is literally no possible win state for the MCU in your mind. If they do one thing that you suggest they do, then you will bitch about it. If they do the opposite of this one thing that you suggest they also do, you will bitch about it. If it finds a way to do both of these things simultaneously, you'll bitch about it. If there's a wide spectrum of every little incremental difference between the two things you're asking for simultaneously, all coexisting, you will still bitch about it. There is no possible way in your mind for there to be any kind of win state or redemption for the MCU. Because at the bottom of all of your logic, of all of these arbitrary reasons you pulled out of your ass that still haven't made any fucking sense and still haven't been defined properly, is the axiom, the MCU is invalid, so I will find any reason at all to call it invalid. And yet, when people who like the MCU and find meaning from it and have found meaning from it for 10 years and change, defend the MCU from your criticisms. They are the problem. They are the undereducated ones, despite the fact that they can at least make coherent arguments a lot of the time. And you, in this entire article, haven't managed to make one coherent argument that does not also apply to yourself or doesn't also contradict several other things you've said in an attempt to make an argument that has also failed.
All right, so comments.
Yep.
All right, Giant Turtle. I think this was earlier when we first started. Are we also going to cover how what might be good representation for some people is bad for others, since humans are highly complex and convoluted things, especially when broken?
The other issue of what the fuck do people matter, just represent the ideas correctly would be my answer to that.
Yeah.
Screw the people wanting the representation, actually represent things correctly.
Yeah. This is when you mentioned the quote mining. Do you have minimal rights to all of these quotes people are mining?
No, but the mineral rights are owned by YouTube. That's part of the problem. People can quote mine you on YouTube at random, and you can't do anything about it. And if you attempt to do anything about it, people will bitch at you for trying to do anything about it.
That was Giant Turtle, by the way. Ed Gruber, this one we're talking about Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Morally right. It's funny how that gets determined. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
But not funny.
Everything is but my morality, and nothing is ever but my quality.
Giant Troll again. If anything, the MCU needs more variety, at least in tone. It's almost all just irreverent snark, witty comebacks, and jokes every 5 seconds. Yeah, no, totally agree with that. Actually, I think I've mentioned that before in some things.
Yeah, I mean, there are places where the irreverent snark is warranted, but let the universe breathe when you can, kind of thing.
Yeah, I think we mentioned like every protagonist, every character in the Marvel movies just seem all very much the same.
That they try their darndest to snark and stark, basically.
Yes, it's weird.
It's one of the reasons why I can't tolerate Benedict Cumberbatch's Doctor Strange, because Doctor Strange is supposed to speak in prose. He's supposed to talk like a fucking monk. He's supposed to talk like a fucking scholar and a fucking wizard. But instead, he snarks and starks, and it never.
I can understand if it's the villains, like if he does that with villains, but in a more sophisticated kind of way.
Yeah, like there are different. This is the thing. I don't mind characters trying to be humorous, because especially in life or death situations, humor is a meaningful defense mechanism that is organic to people. My issue is that everyone seems to kind of have the same style of humor, and that bothers me, because you have Tony basically pulling the like Ferris Bueller style humor. You could easily have Doctor Strange also be funny, but his style of humor would be more along the lines of something like Frasier, or some of the funnier parts in the Hannibal series, or Daria. Like or it'd be similar to Raven from Teen Titans. That's the kind of humor that Doctor Strange. It works well with Doctor Strange, and likewise other characters as well. Like Thor is technically a prince, and yet never, ever approaches anything like regal bearings. He's a dude, bro.
Right.
Because they can't write him as anything else, apparently.
Right. For the record, you brought up Raven from Teen Titans, and I said it well. I talked over you a bit, but evil beware, we have waffles. I think that's the quote.
I mean, Raven is basically superpowered Daria,
right?
Which works for her. So yeah.
Okay. Giant Turtle, if only a Sith deals in absolutes, this often means the pronoun Darth.
Say that again.
If only a Sith deals in absolutes, this author needs the pronoun Darth.
Yeah, and my issue is he's not trying to advocate for a single consistent standard of qualitative judgment. He's arguing for two different extremes simultaneously, and also trying to counter argue the possibility of a spectrum existing between those things simultaneously, which means that this hatred of the MCU of his has become so deeply ingrained that it's not even a rational decision anymore. It's like a fundamental axiom of his worldview is the MCU can do nothing right, even when it tries to do something right.
Okay, Dracula again. This is also another possibility. The author is one of those people who demand perfection and won't accept anything less.
Well, and again, that's my issue is he's not advocating for a consistent definition of perfection. He wants he wants ice that can survive on the surface of the sun, and he wants a fire that can be as cold as the deepest part of Antarctica. Like it's he wants multiple non-overlapping magisteria to be true simultaneously and multiple contradictory terms to exist simultaneously. And even when the MCU actually somehow manages to do those things, he'll start complaining about, well, these two contradictory terms are contradicting each other. That's not good writing, is it? And it's like you asked them to contradict themselves, and I demonstrated to you a case in which they do, and you're still bitching because because the arguments that you make apparently don't matter. What matters is whatever roads we walk down lead to the axiom the MCU must be able to do nothing right.
Okay.
Hmm.
General snark in a more sophisticated way. You mean like the verbal / rhetorical equivalent of classically trained fencer? Of a
Yeah,
classically, yeah.
yes, that very much would fit with Doctor Strange.
Um, and again, Dragel. To be fair, what Regal Prince Thor seemed to fit, the Norse pantheon seems far more barbarian than most. And even then, I wouldn't expect courtly manners from Greeks beyond hospitality. Um, there are comics where it's complicated because I could understand with Thor, like
Thor's bearings in the comics have always been weird because even though he's a Viking and a warrior, his dialogue always comes off as more Shakespearean.
honestly,
But,
if you want a good representation of like a Marvel Thor, I would say Avengers: Earth's Mightiest Heroes, like the cartoon. Who remembers that show?
mm-hmm.
Because that character is both funny and regal at the same time. Not like in a dude bro sense, but just like fish out of water type as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think it's just the MCU or all comic book stuff. I don't know about that one because it was at 8:51, but I don't remember what we were talking about at that time. Ed Brewer, I came in late, but is he saying we would be better off without an MCU at all?
No, he's saying the MCU is invalid and people essentially waste their time with it. Is what he's saying.
I mean, that's stupid either way.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Hold on. That is something I commonly giant turtle. That is something I commonly see with those people, the ones who demand perfection or more accurately utopia. They want to have their cake, eat it, feel good about eating it, and lose weight at the same time.
Yeah, that appears to I want all the things. What about the things that contradict other things that you want? I want them both simultaneously, and I don't want them to contradict each other.
All right. So I'm going to read the last two. Well, the last one is Emperor correcting because he said I can in late instead of came in late, but I read it right.
Mm-hmm.
So, Giant Troll, how did I forget that Thor example? Now that makes a bit more sense.
Yeah, and Marvel Thor is weird because despite being a warrior god from a warrior culture and very much still acting like a dude bro, he speaks Shakespearean all the fucking time.
Okay,
in
so
the
the
comics.
like the version of Thor that we're very used to, which is the Avenger Thor, right?
Hmm.
He's grown up a lot and matured. But in his youth, he was very much like a dude, bro. Like, he hung out with the Vikings.
Yeah,
He-
I always jokingly just refer to Thor as the bro god because even in the war, he's basically the bro god.
yeah,
That's that's why I always get annoyed when people reference the quote in Thor 1 about how basically Clark's laws, science and magic are the same thing, derp. The thing that always infuriates me about that, apart from the fact that that standard makes no fucking sense just as a general principle, but it, it, it it's an obvious character telling on themselves moment more than it is an actual information about the way the universe works moment. It's Thor, a character who knows nothing about science or magic, assuming they must be the same because he doesn't know how either of them work. And that's basically what you have to be, or what you have to think, or what you have to do to make magic and science seem um, comparable, is you have to understand how neither of them work. But but the movie doesn't frame it as Thor is being a dude bro and being stupid and confusing magic and science. It's the movie is framing it as though he's actually knows what he's talking about, even though we know both in universe and out of universe that he doesn't know what he's talking about. It's Thor being a lazy dude, bro, and thinking, well, it'd be like somebody calling microwave popcorn magic because it looks like magic to them, or what they define magic to be in like the abstract. Even though both a magician and a scientist could easily and elementarily explain to them why calling microwave popcorn magic would be extremely stupid and facile, Thor's a dude bro who doesn't think about either of these things and doesn't know about either of these things, because if there were science classes on Asgard and if there were magic classes on Asgard, let's be fair here, Thor probably just cheated off of Loki's paper and then assumed that he knows what he's talking about because Dunning-Kruger.
okay, so all right, last one, Dragon Turtle, because I kind of want to hear Dolan's rant about this, maybe, and then we'll continue
Oh
on
god.
with the article. For Clark's Law, just replace science with science/magic and magic with reality warping or fluffy bunny version of magic.
Well,
I feel like that's a reference to something that I don't know.
no, he's I think I know what he's saying, but it's not even
Oh, TLDR. If it's too complicated, people just give up and think it comes out of thin air.
yes. It
Okay.
it's but that's the thing about Clark's Law is it's incredibly biased to science because it doesn't invalidate both science and magic. If it did, I wouldn't mind it. And it doesn't validate science and magic. If it did, I wouldn't mind it. What it does is say anyone who thinks anything is magic must be wrong and must be stupid and must not understand it because all things ultimately lead back to science. And it's like, no, bitch, your thing is not the only thing in the universe. And it also implies loosely that no sorcerer ever understood what they were doing. And speaking as someone who has spent 16 fucking years of his adult life studying magical philosophy, you, sir or madam, who would espouse Clark's Law, need to read some freaking grimoires. And also, as somebody who in their childhood regularly read Stephen Hawking theoretical physics books in his spare time, I've studied both science and magic, and what I can tell you is they're not the same. There might be some circumstantial overlap somewhere because they occupy the same universe, but they refer to different parts of reality and they function differently. The only thing that they have in common is they are both logical, but that does not mean that one of them is better than the other or one of them is more solid than the other. It means all vectors of human endeavor are subject to logic. If anything, both science and magic should cuck to philosophy and logic. But instead, Clark basically said, anything you call magic isn't really magic. You're just too stupid to realize that it's science harder.
So moving on.
And yeah, no, fuck you. Moving on.
Sorry, Ed Burr just said something really fun. I could totally see Thor surfing the Starways on Silver Surfer's board. Cowabunga do. Odison is here. All right. Okay. This simple equation has rates in over $25 billion. Why'd you put the dollar sign with? You also have the word dollars. Whatever.
I'm not gonna get hung up
Yeah,
on
that's a nitpick. I'm sorry. It's just look. I was drilled it. I had it drilled into me in school to be proper with grammar. Okay.
Uh-huh. We all were, but although you know what? No, I will ding this person in the sense that they are allegedly a professional writer. So, and they were paid to write this, and they knew anyone with access to a computer could see it. So, no, you're a professional writer. You have higher standards, especially considering that your entire argument is reliant upon you being held to a higher standard and having more authority because you're a professional writer. So if you live by pseudo-intellectual abstract authority, then you can also be judged by what you do with that pseudo-intellectual authority of yours. So fail.
Right.
You want to be on a higher plane than everyone else, you also have to live up to the standards higher than everyone else. Go ahead.
Okay, so the simple equation has raked in over $25 billion for Marvel, Disney, and the various Remora, Paramount, Universal, etc., that exist in its ecosystem. Multiverse of Madness's global box office has hit $69 million as of writing, putting it at 16th place in the list of MCU's box office winners. Sometimes if you stop and think hard enough, you realize that a relatively peripheral character like Doctor Strange raking in so much money would have been considered extremely strange 15 or even 10 years ago. But we live in a time when characters and franchises once as obscure as Steve Ditko himself now have the pull of an Ethan Hunt or Ghostbusters.
As well they should, because they always deserve to.
Yeah, that's kind of insulting, honestly, to like.
Yeah, the assumption is they're obscure because they deserve to be obscure rather than they're obscure because nobody ever gave them a shot. And speaking as a lifelong Doctor Strange fan, you can kiss my ass, sir.
Moving on.
Yes, moving on.
Other Hollywood blockbusters have spent over a decade trying to replicate the MCU, throwing everything into a feedback loop of anything you can do, I can do better. Be it attempts to replicate the shared universe formulae to varying degrees of success. Rip Universal's Dark Universe, We Hardly Knew Ye, or the way in which 90% of modern blockbusters are taken on the MCU's aesthetic, a flat digital appearance that resembles the washed out colors of a concrete parking lot. Okay, that is actually a fair point.
I'll give you the aesthetic issue because most of the good MCU movies are actually the ones that have color in them. Yeah. But that's neither here nor there.
I mean, I'm not going to get super into it, but we've talked extensively about the aesthetic issue with movies, with the Marvel movies, or just movies in general, really, because there seems to be a weird saturation with it. But I do want to bring up the whole, because the whole like trying the shared universe thing that they did like during the mid 2010s.
Yeah,
or tried to at least.
Yeah,
I could understand it, and it proved that it works. It proved, Avengers proved that it works.
Yeah.
The big problem was people not understanding the properties that they were trying to make into a shared universe.
Yeah.
And just
And
a copy and paste of the MCU. That was the issue.
And the other thing is they also simultaneously belittled and dismissed the MCU on the grounds that comic books can't possibly be good fodder for creating good stories. This must be overly simplistic, and I'm totally not missing the point or ever not getting things because I don't miss things. I never am the person who doesn't get things. I'm the one who tells other people what they don't understand. Fucking pseudo intellectual hacks. And this is the problem. Just like this article, you assume by default that there is no quality in the MCU. Therefore, you can justify in your own head going on some kind of fucked up moral crusade against the MCU on the grounds that it can't be there's value that you can't see or value that you're not understanding. It must be that everyone else is being deceived because you never get anything wrong or avoid things or frame things in an unhelpful manner or get so far up your own philosophical asshole that you forget to see the obvious shit right in front of you, which, by the way, is 90% of the problem with modern day Hollywood. They assume that art has no intrinsic value and then proceed organically and faithfully with that assumption that art has no intrinsic value. And unsurprisingly, when you make art with the assumption there is no such thing as intrinsic or intersubjective value, it crashes and burns. And then along come the very same overly confident assholes saying, "What? We just proceeded with the obviously true assumption that there is no such thing as intersubjective or intrinsic value. How could we have possibly gotten this wrong?" And no matter how many times they are obviously presented with the evidence that there is actually something intrinsically valuable about given IPs or just art in general, they will not accept it because they assume by default that they are already smarter than everyone else in the room. And no matter how many people scream at the top of their lungs, as I have done many, 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 many times over the years, just on this show alone, that there is something intrinsically valuable about art for its own sake or on its own terms, or at least intersubjectively valuable among like the human mind. No matter how many times we blatantly and obviously say that, will they ever address the argument or address the point? No, they will just presuppose that it's an invalid way to look at art and carry on assuming that art has no intrinsic value, failing horribly, and then coming up shy on wondering, how could we have possibly failed? We're obviously correct that art has no intrinsic value and we can make art whatever we want it to be. And rinse and repeat and round we go. Things that actually do acknowledge that art has intrinsic value do well. It confuses the living fuck out of the artistic critical class, and things that assume that art has no intrinsic value fail horribly, also confusing the fuck out of the critical class. And never will they get it through their heads that maybe what's going wrong here is the assumption that art has no intrinsic value. Maybe if they just got it out of their heads and assumed that art maybe did have some intrinsic or intersubjective value, we could make good art. And when you make good art, people will actually want to see it, and then that will be successful. It's a very simple, very straightforward thing. But simple things can never be more right than complex things. So no matter how obvious the answer is, if it's too obvious and too simple, then it must be wrong and must be childish and must be naive. And it clearly can't be right. Derp. Rinse and repeat forever. Moving on.
Either way, the loop spawns deformed bastard sons like Ghostbusters Afterlife and Morbius with a nauseating regularity. Okay, Morbius, because I have seen that. Yeah, no, it's crap. I've not seen Ghostbusters Afterlife.
I have. It was great. Fuck you. You do not, under any circumstances, get to put Ghostbusters Afterlife and Morbius in the same category as though they're indistinguishable from each other. Fuck all the way off.
The thing is, my issue is with Morbius is
It didn't try.
Yeah, like if anyone goes to the Discord, Podcast Storm official Discord, I actually did a complete rewrite um, of that story. Not like a full-on script or anything, because I do not have the time to actually make full scripts, like movie scripts, um, of that, but just a general pitch of like how I would have done the movie, also with fan casting and stuff.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, again, I haven't seen Ghostbusters Afterlife, so I can't really put a voice in there about it. I assume it's good, you know.
Mhm.
Um, anyway, moving on.
Moving on.
The most troubled of these bastards might just be Disney's other colossal shared universe or galaxy, Star Wars. Once the playground of an inaugurally odd little creature, George Lucas, not Yoda, and once decidedly art, I sincerely believe Picasso would have beheld a character like Dexter Jetster and wept. Um, has become, under the stewardship of Disney and MCU creative forefather John Favreau, content.
Okay, it's not. Oh, okay. You.
That is,
Okay. What makes the Disney version of Star Wars shit is not the attempt to create an organized, complex shared universe. In fact, as we've seen, that is a pretty solid way of structuring a given universe or a given IP, if it's done correctly. The issue, my love, is that, as I just went into for like 10 minutes longer than I probably needed to, the assumption among the artistic class of today's day and age is that art has A, no intrinsic or intersubjective value in its own right or for its own sake, and B, only exists as a means for sociopolitical, moral, and cultural ends. It is these twin assumptions that lead to the mistake that causes things like the Disney Star Wars movies. It's not the structuring of a given universe in a cinematic universe sense that is the problem. That is a rational, simple, and straightforward way of creating a universe or servicing an IP. The issue is the underlying philosophy that keeps infecting and inculcating every piece of fandom. The idea that there is no intrinsic value and that all art must be a means to a socio-political, moral, or cultural end. If if you take that out, if you took that aspect out and took all attempts to act along those lines out, Star Wars would be in a better place. As we can see by Sonic the Hedgehog, by Joker, by the MCU before Phase 4, or at least before Captain Marvel, and so on and so on and so on. When you assume that the art you're working with has intrinsic value, or at least exists for its own sake and on its own terms rather than as a means to an end, you will act accordingly and focus more on quality than you will on culture, implications, or morality. But if you assume that art has no intrinsic value or even intersubjective humanitarian value, and instead only exists as a means to an end, as a blank slate to project things onto from a cultural standpoint, then you will put morality and culture and messaging ahead of in universe logic and in universe validity. And it will come crashing down every single time. In fact, if we're being entirely honest with ourselves, the only reason Star Wars is still viable at this point, given how much it has philosophically screwed the metaphorical pooch, is that it is set up like the MCU as a overlapping arcing universe, because despite all of the abstract rigmarole, there is intrinsic value to certain ways of doing things in certain structures, and the structure of creating a cinematic universe is a very structured, orderly, and rational way to construct and deal with an IP. So, in other words, the only thing that's making Star Wars viable at this point is the things it borrowed from the organization of the MCU. If it weren't for that organization, Star Wars would have died, kind of like the Tim Burton and Joel Schumacher Batman franchise died after Batman and Robin. Moving on.
Right. Okay. So I'm gonna finish this, and then we're gonna cover some of the comments. That
Yep.
Then I also do think we're gonna have to call it for this. Well, okay, maybe not just yet, but
How much longer do we have to go?
technically not that long, but I'm worried because it's us.
Yeah, fair enough.
So at least
I really would rather not revisit this for a third time, so we probably should just keep going until we finish.
I mean we got like maybe I don't know about 3 more paragraphs. So
Okay.
yeah,
Well,
that shouldn't take us long. So
yeah, I will try to restrain my ranting, but it gets stupider as we go, and it takes longer to parse exactly what went wrong with it.
all right, okay. Anyway, moving on. Like the MCU, it has had its future mapped out like a sold-off child bride. Its portents foretold by the rolled knucklebones of think tank analytics, focus groups, and ballistic ultra fans, leading Star Wars, ironically, far, far away from what once made it interesting.
No. What takes Star Wars away from what once made it interesting is the fact that it was literally founded as a pastiche of Joseph Campbellian heroic monomyths and 1940s adventure serials, and the current crop of writers and creatives are morally and philosophically appalled by the very idea that there is such a thing as old school adventure serials, pulpiness, or Joseph Campbellian Jungian monomyths to base something off of. Star Wars is the one franchise that unequivocally and unironically is supposed to be Jungian by its very nature because it was designed as such and was very successful at doing so. Like George Lucas specifically said that he considered Joseph Campbell to be one of his mentors and wanted to create a monomyth for the 20th century, and he succeeded in doing so. That is why Star Wars is not doing well. It's because of the philosophical change that has occurred in Hollywood from doing things for their own sake or even to make a academic point like George Lucas did in relation to Joseph Campbell, but instead to make all art a means to an end for cultural, political, social, or moral fixations.
Mm. Uh, I was you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna just so like we can. All right, Pronot. Hello, yes, see you, man. Uh, and editor, no bloody shagging editor. Referencing to the thing we mentioned about grammar earlier with this article.
Yeah, it's like for all of these professional journalism outlets, you would think someone would be being paid to be an editor.
Yeah, Giant Journal. If we do not keep language consistent, then we cannot approve. Godspeed, grammar Nazis. Even though I'm usually the one in the spell check gulag.
Yeah.
Giant Journal again. Actually, the rest are pretty much in. So, postmodernists. There's no truth, morality, or value. Everything is subjective. Also, postmodernists. So therefore, I'm right, the smartest, and you should all follow me and my ideology.
That is about the long and short of it. Yes.
That's
Also, Ed, I saw your comment up at the top there. No, magic does work for everyone. It's just that most people aren't given the opportunity to learn magic or don't seek it out, unlike science, which is taught in schools. my ideal future would be a world in which all of these are taught in schools, but I can dream. It's just a matter of most people don't understand magic or don't feel the need to ever try to, and therefore they can't make it work.
All right.
Just like someone whose only knowledge of science is the I Love Science Facebook page probably won't be able to make science work either.
I wouldn't be surprised if that's an actual Facebook page. Um. Anyway, now Star Wars. Is this person just against continuous universes? Because I've seen those people who say that everything should basically be a one-off story, and a big crossover with the people who think we must always have new, not even similar to old. I also wanted to slap those people. I firmly believe they will destroy fiction if they ever get power of it.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
they will.
Um, Organization isn't Disney Star Wars one of the things attacking the idea of canon and internal consistency. Even then, it would at least be better if that end wasn't completely insane and seemingly rejects logic. Okay, that is a different comment to that.
Yeah, yeah, but that's the problem. This is what happens when you take a structured, orderly, um, sort of meta structure like the cinematic universe concept and combine it with art is art is only valuable as a socio-political and moral means to an end and has no objective, innate, inherent, or intersubjective value. That when you combine those two things, when you combine that philosophy with that structure, they cancel each other out and make a fucking pig's ear of the whole thing, which is what we see with basically every franchise now, even the MCU to some degree, because even the MCU is starting to do it now, which is where I start to weep tragically into my fucking beard.
Right. I mean, my major issue, actually, yeah, no, it is kind of the lack of canon slash internal consistency. Like they discarded. Oh, well, not technically because they start bringing in stuff from the extended universe, but call it the Legends,
Yeah.
which I think is completely dumb because you have stuff there, but you want to make your own stuff.
Yeah, the biggest failure of the Star Wars, the Disney Star Wars universe, was when Kathleen Kennedy suggested, let's throw out uh the entire extended universe and just start from scratch. People actually listened to her for some goddamn reason
Yeah.
instead of firing her flat on her ass in that single instance.
Okay, so this will be the last for now, Dragon Troll. This will be our last comment that we read, so we can move on and finish this thing because I really want to finish this thing and move on to everything else because it's a pick me up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Dragon Troll. Most people don't learn science either and treat it as if it's how they describe magic, combined with the worst aspects of faith. Hence why I dub it scientism. Scientism. Science.
Yeah, I agree, and therein lies the problem. You're trying to define terms without any understanding of what those terms actually mean. You use science like it's a magic word, and you use magic like it's a magic word, and even the notion of a magic fucking word is not accurate to how magic actually functions. But that's neither here nor there. Like it's literally just appealing to the authority of things you don't understand and thinking that you're correct in making that determination, which bothered me because even when I was 9 years old, needed to understand things before I would allow it to have power over me. That's why I read Stephen Hawking's Universe in a Nutshell when I was like 9. And that's why um, eventually I got to the point where I had what I would call a working understanding of science and felt the need to seek other answers because science was inadequate at answering other questions that I had. Hence why I turned to philosophy and then eventually magic. And here we are. And now, having a somewhat working understanding of both of these things, I can say definitively that they're not the fucking same thing. They're separate things that happen to overlap and occupy the same universe because both are subject to the parameters of philosophy and logic.
Right. Okay. Simply because this is just topical to this discussion, I will read this. And the last thing, again, just we're gonna call it there, and then we can get to the article. They also apply the same rejection of canon to history. What is the 1619 product but a retcon of history? I don't know what that is.
It's a academic initiative that basically makes the claim that America was founded specifically for the slave trade.
That's so fucking dumb.
Never mind that people had been coming to America from Europe for like 2 centuries prior to that.
Also, the Vikings.
Yeah, and that's not even counting Leif Erikson. I was just talking about the old chestnut of, in 1492 Columbus sailed the ocean blue. And incidentally, some of the earliest expeditions by England to the New World were done under Queen Elizabeth I at the behest of John Dee, her court magician. So you can all go fuck yourself.
Right. Johnny Joe. The only valid magic word is because I'm Batman.
No.
Is that God?
If
Want to say All-Star Batman and Robin, or is that? No, that's I'm the goddamn Batman. That
yeah, but no. If Batman actually got off his high horse and opened a freaking grimoire every now and again, I might agree with that. But despite having every other fucking skill it's possible to learn in the universe, he will not, for some reason, open up a fucking grimoire. And therefore, Batman is forever on my shit list. If you want to master all the skills, Bruce, then open up a freaking grimoire, get Constantine or Zatanna on the line, and take some goddamn magic lessons.
probably Zatanna more than John.
Honestly, I think he needs John because John will be a ball buster when he needs to be. I think Zatanna is a little bit too polite. Bruce needs somebody who can take him down a couple pegs while he's learning shit.
Okay, that's fair enough, but John is a little bit reckless when it comes to magic, so.
I mean, yeah, but actually, that's part of the reason why I think they would work well together, because once Batman understands the basics of magic, he can go, wait a minute, doesn't this grimoire say you're supposed to cast a circle around this thing before you summon it? And John, of course, would be like, yeah, well, I don't bloody fucking care, mate. And then Bruce, being the stickler for rules that he is, would actually do it right, just to spite John.
Right. Anyway, moving on. Solo and The Rise of Skywalker failed at the box office like so many of the MCU's imitators because of an inability to grasp what the MCU and its content is exactly, even though the answer is so clear, apparent, and simple. The MCU is awesome. Okay, hold on, Don, before you do, because I'm sure you have stuff to say.
Okay, yeah, go.
The MCU is awesome because in the early phases, there was a lot of work put in, a lot of creativity, and a lot of heart put into those things. The problem with Solo and The Rise of Skywalker, well, Solo specifically, was that the original directors, were cut out, like, when they were nearly, I think, halfway done with shooting. And The Rise of Skywalker failed simply because it had to undo a lot of mistakes that were done in the previous film that went out of its fucking way to basically put up the middle finger to the Star Wars franchise, which turned off a lot of fans. And thus,
they had to cram 2 movies worth of content into one movie, and unsurprisingly, it didn't work well.
But that doesn't. It's not an imitator of the MCU, at least at that time. It was its own thing, but it failed simply because of mismanagement and people who did not respect the source material nor the actual property itself.
Well, it's more than that. They actually see it's gotten to the point where they see disrespect of the source material as a moral virtue, which is the thing that I absolutely fucking
I'm trying to get.
it drives me to want to murder people. The idea that deliberately telling the fans and the IP itself to fuck off is some kind of moral virtue is where I officially draw the line. It's like, no, one of these is just, run of the mill incompetence and not doing your fucking homework. The other is okay, one of these is refusing to do your homework out of spite and not handing it in to your teacher. The other is burning down the classroom so you don't have to go to school ever again. And yeah, that's a full factor more stupid and more ignorant than the other. They're both not exactly advisable, but considering not serving the fans and not serving the IP to be a moral virtue is officially when your head is so far up your ass that the demon from Castlevania needs to pull it out and eat you just out of spite. And if I ever get my fucking grimoires working, that might be a thing. But we won't talk about that anymore until I can actually get it working.
I'm back. I got a drink. It's water.
Uh-huh.
Still, I'm trying to be healthy. Anyway, yeah, okay, so moving on.
Yeah, moving on.
I use awesome in the terrifying peasant beholding a biblically accurate angel sense here as the everythingness of the MCU. I don't think everythingness is a word, right?
He's being cheeky and flippant. I'll allow it, but yeah, for all of your hoity-toity hyper intellectualism, you kind of it's one of those pick a lane sorts of things.
Yeah.
I don't authoritate over things. I don't load everything down with pomp and circumstance. So I get to be both simultaneously intellectual and also flippant when I want to, because I didn't make a claim that I was superior to everyone, and none of my arguments require me to be superior to everyone, because I, get this, can actually defend myself in the realms of argument as and when I need to.
Okay, as the everythingness of the MCU, both within the text and in the world, should and does inspire trouser wedding knee buckling awe. Its content has reshaped not only culture, not only the market, but imagination itself.
And normally that would be considered a good thing, much as most people, when they see a biblically accurate angel, in my opinion wrongly, but that's neither here nor there, start worshiping the fucking thing. But you can look at, in your own description, a biblically accurate angel and think you're looking at freaking Cthulhu because you've already assumed that the team you're looking at is invalid. You look at angels the way some people look at demons, just because you insist that all angels must be demons for some reason. Quite frankly, I'm sort of neutral on this whole rigmarole because I don't really get awestruck by things. I think awe is a cheap trick with regards to spiritual matters. I refuse to be bullied into my brain not working, no matter who it is doing it. And that's why I respect entities that can engage my brain and simultaneously earn my respect that way. Points to Queen Mab and to the Lord of Dreams for that there, but that's neither here nor there.
Although I do want to say, technically, a biblically accurate angel is technically like an old one.
Yeah, no, it's very like Lovecraft didn't really create anything new with his mythos. All he did was bring back the holy shit, what am I looking at aspect of spirituality.
Yeah.
Although, if you actually look into his personal history, most of his stories are based on dreams he had as a kid. So it is possible that there are actual Lovecraftian entities. However, given that both of the aforementioned deities that I ally myself with are opposed to such entities, I feel that I shouldn't bring them up any more than I absolutely have to.
I mean, if the queen's a fae, and I would assume the various other gods of Earth exist, there's no way in hell that you cannot convince me that the old ones don't exist either. Granted,
And,
never
and
to,
again, Lovecraft literally dreamt of them as a kid and used them to inform his fiction. So, yeah.
so yeah, granted I hope never to meet one.
Yeah, no, that I am on the anti-old one team here.
Yeah,
Both both the Lord of Dreams and the Queen of Winter are very explicitly anti-old one.
yeah. Anyway, uh, moving on. Um, we are now all content creators to some degree, and our creation mirrors the MCU's process on a micro and macro scale. We are encouraged to think in brands, markets, and phases, even part of us sellable, sellable scrap to the junkyard algorithm that dictates the course of everyone's personal character stat sheet. The fuck is he on about?
Yeah, because, my dear, the ability to organize things in sensible phases is a good way to get something that is large and complex in scale over time without making it seem overwhelming. That is what makes the MCU successful, even in this day and age when they've run out of room to actually keep building without paying off shit.
Right.
And I will agree with you that they most definitely need to start paying off some shit. But that being said, the problem with the MCU is not their scale or their complexity. It's that it's their refusal to actually pay things off. The scale
Also,
and the complexity is admirable regardless.
so what I was going to say was, also it's not really technically the first one who's done it. I mean, technically sequels to movies have done that. In terms of like setting, like in terms of like you could say chapters of things.
I
Um,
mean, there's what, like 8 different Nightmare on Elm Street movies?
that do expand on some things and other things as a whole. Um, not
I
to mention,
think that I think there's like 10 Hellraiser movies. That horror movie franchises in particular have been doing this for freaking ever. I mean, the first
it's not.
cinematic universe was the Universal monster movies where they crossed over the Wolfman and Dracula and the Mummy and all the rest of them. So
Uh, what I'm yeah, and yeah, and it helps organize things better, like to put them in phases and things. Um, like Dalton said, so like it's not overwhelming to a viewer, you know.
but it still rewards their investment. Again, if the people behind this know what they're doing, that is.
Yeah. Um, anyway, I'm not.
Moving on.
The MCU and you are essentially working the same pump, and that might be the greatest trick Disney ever pulled. This extends beyond the rabid tweets, petitions, memes, and other frothy detritus,
Detritus, maybe?
detritus hawked up by stands and on into the base level modes in which people engage with this content on a whole. The shape of conversations, debates, and theories.
Yeah, because people actually care about this material and want to know more about what will happen, want to have philosophical discussions relating to the internal logic, want to know the scale that we're playing in. That's one of the reasons why the MCU needs to start paying shit off, because if they want to, they could go absolutely crazy in the next phase or so. It's just they seem to be taking their sweet time getting there. Where where are the cosmic abstract entities? Where are the celestials? Where are I could go on. This is my shit. This is exactly what I've been waiting for, and they keep doing this one step forward, two steps back thing.
All right, moving on.
Yeah, moving on.
You're not just a fan or a hater. You're a participant, a peer, a sidekick, a Thor, a Spider-Man, Captain America, an assembled Avenger. A Venom to the Great Machine's carnage. Oh, wow, that is.
Bitch, that was entirely non-coherent, so I'm not even going to address it as a point. But you missed the Masters of the Mystic Arts. Thank you very much.
He doesn't care, you know that.
I know, but I do, and god damn it, both in reality and in fiction, I have to represent for my people here. So there.
That perhaps is the art at the heart of the content's artlessness. Let me read that again. Just that.
In other words, no, go ahead. Read it again, and then I'll make my point.
That perhaps is the art at the heart of the content's artlessness. Is that a word, by the way? Artlessness?
Yes, artlessness is a word.
Okay, I wanted to.
Yeah, but my issue there, sir, is you went and just flat out contradicted yourself. You admitted, albeit, dragged and screaming out of your mouth, but you admitted that there is actually an art to the MCU. While simultaneously your entire argument stands and falls on the idea that there is no art to the MCU. This is why it is important to define your fucking terms and to make coherent goddamn points. Because you literally, in the conclusion to your article, flat out fucking contradicted yourself in mutually exclusive ways. If there is an art to the MCU, then it is art. And if it's just content, then there would presumably be no art to it. But even you, in all of your that there could possibly be no validity to the art that I'm experiencing ways, have to at least admit that there is an art to it. Thereby concluding, sir, that you are so wrong that not even you could finish your argument without flat out fucking admitting that you are wrong and that your framing of this has been wrong the entire time. Because if you look at a lot of your examples in this entire article, a lot of what you frame as bad could just as easily be framed as good, if not easier. And if you take that into account, on top of the fact that even you had to admit that there is an art to the MCU, we can therefore conclude that the MCU is art. Because even a person trying to argue that the MCU isn't art had to admit that the MCU is. And all the people who think the MCU is art have a hell of a lot more ammo than you do, sir, because they don't have to flat out fucking contradict themselves just to make a point. You couldn't even manage to make a point without flat out contradicting yourself because, on some level, part of you does respect the MCU, does respect its ambition, does respect its scale, does respect all those things that you would respect in any other kind of goddamn art. But you can't allow it to be because you have a point you must make about how you are the arbiter of what is valid and invalid, and the MCU doesn't pander strong enough to you and your sensibilities to be qualified as art. Well, as we've seen, logic is a far more substantive definer of what art is than personal subjective woo. Because even with all of your woo laid out before us, you couldn't stick the landing. You just couldn't leave the room without acknowledging that you are talking nothing but bullshit and subjective woo that makes no fucking sense, and even you had to admit it by the end.
Right. Moving on.
Moving on.
Someone's shooting fireworks off in the distance.
Okay, you sure it's fireworks this time and not gunfire?
I know what gunfire. I know the difference between gunfire and fireworks. As sad as that sounds.
Well, I mean, it is like what, June 19th right now, so it at least makes sense.
Instead of like fireworks going off in the middle of fucking February, which has happened.
Yeah, I swear to God, I heard somebody shooting off fireworks around Christmas time once, and I was just like, why? You have to go outside to do it. Why would you go outside when it's like I'm a freaking self-avowed and self ascribed servant of the winter court, and even I don't want to spend that much time outside when it's this cold.
Yeah, people are weird and dumb sometimes, man. I don't get it. Anyway, by drowning us in it, the MCU offers the willing and the unwilling both a shot at a beatific market research singularity. Cinema, television, art. These are mutant genes that Disney Sentinels will purge until contentment is universal. And each of us. Oh, wait, sorry. I totally I missed a sentence. That's my bad.
Okay.
In content lies contentment. By drowning us in it, the MCU offers the willing and the unwilling both a shot at a beatific market research singularity. Cinema, television, art, these are mutant genes that Disney Sentinels will purge until contentment is universal, and each of us, fan and hater alike, can be considered canon. What the fuck does that even mean?
It means he's trying to frame universal appeal as a bad thing.
God damn it.
Because apparently that's something that art should aspire not to do instead of doing, like every other time in human history. But again, once a fucking again, sir, universal appeal is generally considered to be a good thing. But because you have an axiom in your algorithm that says the MCU can do nothing right, you must frame universal appeal, which is literally universally lauded in all other forms of art, as though it's not a good thing or that art shouldn't aspire to be universally applicable, which means that other pieces of art that are universally um, applicable must now be bad art, i.e., let's burn the Mona Lisa because everybody fucking loves it. That's where your logic that you just laid out will lead us. If if art shouldn't have universal appeal, then we must destroy any piece of art that has universal appeal, no matter how much of a humanitarian travesty that would be. It's almost as though having universal appeal is something art should aspire to, and you're completely and utterly bass fucking backwards because you need to be for your own personal ego to go unmolested for the next 5 minutes.
Okay. So I already set the next thing up, which is the Black Adam trailer that we didn't get to cover last week. But before we do that, comments, obviously. Okay, so Dragon Turtle, because I'm Batman, is how it should be, how it should have ended me. Oh, okay. God, it's been so, I haven't seen how it should have ended in years. I know it's still going, it's just not,
Yeah, I haven't had a reason to look into it. I'm gonna look into it probably when they come out with their Multiverse of Madness one. And probably going to disagree with it because I liked Multiverse of Madness a hell of a lot more than the first Doctor Strange.
Right. If you guys haven't, you should look into the idea of the anti-fan. That's what is going on there. I think referring to the article.
I mean I think because I'm aware of the idea of the anti-fan is specifically espoused by the YouTuber V of Romanian TV fame. I think anti-fan kind of undersells it to some degree because the thing is they have a moral fixation with opposing art for its own sake. They believe that art is only valuable as a means to an end and never as an end in itself. I prefer to frame it as just having a difference in worldview because I don't really care about the people espousing the stupid worldview. I want to end the stupid worldview. I don't really care about the meat puppets the ideas walk around in. I care about the ideas being fucking stopped. Because in this instance, those ideas are a fucking Balrog, and I am going to appreciate saying this, but you shall not pass.
I mean, if you
Always
had
wanted to do that.
McKellen, that would have worked so much better.
Fuck you. Let me have my moment.
I'm not
You only
wrong,
get
though.
you only get to do that so many times, and I enjoy that I was able to do that.
Anyway, moving on to the next comment, Giant Troll. Was that specifically for Star Wars / MCU fans and memes, or is he going after it all? Why don't you care? Why do you care so much about these kids' programs, Builder Table or something? I think is kind of things getting at.
Um, I don't I don't think it's quite the build the table like Gavin McGinnis and Rebel Media. I think it's more you should you should only view art as a means to an end, like me and all the intellectuals do, because only stupid or naive people believe that art is valuable for its own sake and by its own internal logic. That's what he's doing. He's not doing the you shouldn't engage in art period. He's doing the this art is bad art because it doesn't make itself a means to an end for anything. It requires that you
Like,
care about things internally, and you shouldn't do that because reasons.
all right, Giant Troll. Dalton, we need diversity quotas for wizards. Lol. I demand more mage representation in media. Tropes versus witches. Uh,
I mean, I
just in
literally have a show on my channel that's called A Mystic Vlogs where I basically kind of do that. So fair enough.
just in case it comes off. Otherwise, I know what you meant.
Uh-huh.
Chrononaut, I have gas. It's not polite. Cross finger everyone. Just a fart so far.
Why did you feel the need to know
It's
to let
it's
us know that?
it's
Frodo,
Chrono.
we're in a non-auditory medium. There is literally no way we would have ever known if you hadn't have just told us. We're not on a voice call, so we couldn't have heard background noise even. And 9 times out of 10, that kind of stuff doesn't show up on a voice call anyway. What?
uh, anyway, Giant Troll. Don't these people always talk about how X should be for everyone? If anything, that's the position I hold. And not everyone will like the same things, and those things not popular should exist for the people who like them.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was getting at though. It under normal circumstances, universal appeal is not just an admirable thing, but it's the goal of everything. And yet, when universal appeal becomes inconvenient to what I need to think, all of a sudden universal appeal becomes a bad thing.
Giant Troll, good point. So instead of anti-fan, maybe ideological imperialism, wanting to shove their ideology into everything and into everyone.
Well, I just refer to it as the means to an end approach because that's the fundamental issue. I don't really that and moralism. But the thing is, the reason I frame it as the means to an end approach being the problem is as annoying as the social justice warriors are, I've noticed that our ostensible side is doing something almost as annoying, which is instead of art should only art should only be seen as valuable from a socio-political context, you have the people on the other side like the Fourth Age or like Professor Geek going all that matters is Jungian archetypes and psychology and the overall utilitarian usefulness to society of a given piece of art. It's like no, neither of these is true because both of them all all that the young tards are doing really is swapping out socio-political and moral import for usefulness to society, which when you get right down to it is the exact same fucking thing. It's just from the other side. It's just the traditionalist approach to it rather than the subversive approach to it. And quite frankly, I advocate for the actual traditional position in this case, which is the ancient Greek approach of art doesn't come from humans, it comes from either inherent logic or from spiritual beings like the muses or gods and so on and so forth. I.e., art. The people who create art don't make it; they are the servants of it, and they channel it, kind of like a radio antenna picking up a signal. That's the approach that I would like to go back to, as well
Right.
as Michelangelo's famous "the sculpture is already in the marble, I just chip away the superfluous bits" approach.
Okay, so last two comments, and then we're gonna get into the trailers.
Yep.
All right, so Chrononauts, gunshots, Goddess bless, bad jokes.
Fair enough.
I'm not sure I get that one, but okay, I'm just gonna roll with it.
Uh-huh.
Giant Troll, I'd still call that an ideological imperialism. I think this, so everything must revolve around this. This art must be a means to that end because everything must.
Eh, I I think it's simpler just to attack the idea that art has to be a means to an end at all. Um, because if we do get out of this, if we can if both the subverter if both the critical theorist Frankfurt School types and the Jungian traditionalists, the trad youngs, or as I call them, the young chards, um, get the bullet too, to borrow a phrase from Antifa, and we return to um, the ancient Greek approach or the Michelangelo approach, or even Chuck Jones's approach of storytelling is human behavior plus logic. Um, I think we'll be better off
Oh,
than if
okay.
than if we just virtue signal about who gets to whose ends are we supposed to be serving? Are we supposed to be serving broader society and Jungian archetypes, or are we supposed to be serving abstract socio-political movements and ideas instead? And I'm like, neither. We're
Okay.
supposed to be serving the art itself.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Chrome at the gunshots slash fireworks for him party. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I saw the first comment Chrono say, have cast and stuff. I did not get that at
Yeah,
all.
I was very, very. Chrono, when was the last time you adjusted your medication dosage? Because you seem to go off into a level of abstract that even I can't follow more lately than usual. So maybe you need to adjust your medication dosage. Chrono Chrono is bipolar, so it might just be he's not getting enough of whatever medication he needs to restore balance of his brain.
All right, so yeah, so Black Adam trailer, like I said, we weren't able to cover it last week due to a lot of problems, technical difficulties and stuff. So we're gonna cover it here. Yeah, so let's get. So the rest of this is
Yeah, we're mostly after this doing trailer reactions, so buckle in, folks.
also kind of a detox of the stupidity.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway, Shazam.
Yeah, full screen and play.
Shazam.
Black Adam, what have your powers ever given to you? Nothing but heartache.
Okay, so I'm excited. Like it has a really good tone to it. Um like I already get a sense of gravity towards it, like a sense of weight behind actions and stuff.
Yeah, I appreciate that the trailer opened with a conversation between him and Kent, because that means that whoever made this understands how awesome and important Dr. Fate is.
Yeah.
Would have preferred actually seeing him wearing the helmet though.
That's completely fair.
I worry that they're gonna find some excuse as to why he's not wearing it for most of the movie, and he only wears it in battle sequences, and that kind of, even though the possession retcon is fucking stupid, and I want to see the back of it, and I do like that they're focusing more on Kent himself. Wearing the helm is still important to him because Naboo is his surrogate father figure if we're going by the old school Golden Age rules. So,
and this, I will say this, it does have, from what we've gathered here, I do get a sense of Golden Age.
yeah.
I mean, not in like the 20 seconds. I'm talking kind of
Yeah,
later on.
yeah, because okay, Brainstormer and I had this rather hilarious but also infuriating argument about how I assumed that because the movie focuses on the Justice Society and everything, that it would be a period piece set in like the 1940s. And Brainstormer didn't get that impression first, and I'm like, but it's
Well,
the
okay,
Justice
The
Society.
thing is, it has a lot of like high tech stuff, which granted, if it looked more like kind of steampunkish or Art Deco style, I would have understood.
It also looks more. Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say Well, Dawn has that impression. I'm under more the impression that this is like an Earth 2 situation, which I'm totally fine with, as long as it's a good movie.
Yeah, I was just assuming that the high tech stuff was either Thanagarian or was Scarab alien tech, whose the name of the Scarab.
Reach.
There we go. Or yeah, basically, I was assuming it was alien technology, but still set in the 1940s, which makes sense. It seems though like the bits of Kahndaq we've seen, they're gonna try to kind of make Kahndaq similar to Wakanda, and I'm not sure I like that because even in the the DC fandom look at Black Adam, Black Adam's voiceover suggested that Kahndaq's culture was mostly magic based, and I want to see that. So,
are you thinking that it's going to be technology based? I don't think that. I think it's just, this is like maybe something like Intergang. If anyone knows that, it's actually like a group of like alien weapon smugglers from Superman. That's what I was kind of getting, like a group of people that are using like advanced tech for something. So that's what I was thinking at the very least. Which does strike me as a little bit of a Golden Age thing.
Yeah, it's possible, but I still maintain until we get any confirmation to the contrary that this is going to be set in the 40s, as well it should, because that will also give time in between Black Adam and Shazam 3 for the two of them to eventually cross over.
Right.
Which, yay.
Anyway, shall we?
Yeah. Shazam.
Shazam Nana.
No.
Fuck you, I'm going with it.
No.
Shazam Nana.
We're not doing that.
Until I died. Then I was reborn a god. My son sacrificed his life to save me.
Okay, so I have a few things. It does look like, one, they are keeping elements. They are combining certain elements from like from the origin that was given for the New 52 Black Adam with his son. I'm guessing his son was possibly supposed to be the original champion of Shazam.
Yeah. And then he gave his powers to his dad or something.
Oh, I think he killed his son to gain the power because he didn't think his son could handle it, and it's a whole thing. But I think this is where one thing you can sense the passion here. By the way,
Yeah, somebody who made this really, really loves Black Adam, which
well, The Rock,
yay.
because like he said he'd been trying for so long, and like this is a passion project for him, which like you can get that from here.
Kudos, Mr. Rock, and apparently we have similar taste in characters, so yay.
Yeah.
Although to be fair, yeah, I can't honestly I can't imagine anyone but The Rock playing Black Adam, so I'm glad that he loves this character as much as we do.
Yeah. It just has like this really epic just scope to it too. Like it gives you that feeling of epicness, but not like in the kind of shallowness that Zack Snyder has done.
Yeah, and it also draws attention to just how invulnerable Black Adam is, because that was one thing that I wish they had focused more on in Shazam. I know Shazam was meant to be more lighthearted and more goofy, but it is not to be undersold just how invulnerable the champions are.
Yeah, and also just the power that they wield. Like that is kind of I will say this, like this is kind of a benefit that I give to The Boys, is that they show the real like kind of weight and effort.
Same thing with Invincible as well. They show just how fragile the world is in comparison to these beings.
Yeah, to these super beings. That's like one of the very few things that actually is like a technical thing that I like about The Boys too.
Yeah, no, The Boys is good on a lot of technical levels. It fails philosophically because it's a cynical, nihilistic adaptation of a cynical, nihilistic comic that hates the fact that it's a comic. So, yeah.
I will say, like, I've seen clips of Jensen Ackles as Soldier Boy. He's really fucking good.
I mean, the man played Dean Winchester for more than a decade, so he's...
Oh, he voiced Jason Todd. He also gave an amazing voice performance as Jason Todd in Batman Under the Red Hood. You know,
he's a well-established screen presence. Don't let anybody fool you. And honestly, I kind of wish they had cast him as John Walker now.
Actually, he would play. I think he would play a more comic accurate version of John Walker at the very least.
Yeah, probably. But anyway, Shazam.
Yeah. But no, I did want the epicness of it. You know, like it has this kind of weight of epicness that Snyder portrays through visuals, but it doesn't have like a depth to it. You know,
yeah, it doesn't carry over.
Yeah, this has that mainly because one, it is dealing with like a powerful being that is a champion of wizards or a wizard.
Yeah, he's just immovable because, well, apart from it being played by The Rock, who is also just fucking immovable in universe, he has the strength of Hercules and the power of Zeus and the stamina and courage of Achilles. So yeah,
the wisdom of Solomon. What's the M? What's the M for?
Speed of Mercury.
Yeah.
But to be fair, the wisdom of Solomon almost never actually comes up.
That actually is weird, but
they never freaking use it, which is interesting because if they used it, they could have made Shazam and Black Adam more magical practitioners because Solomon's wisdom was very magic focused, but they never fucking use it. Which is one of the reasons why Shazam and Black Adam are both below like Fate and Constantine and Zatanna on my character list, because it's the difference between a character with magical powers and a character who actually knows how to use magic.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have anything to say, so shall we Shazam Nana?
We shall Shazam, and you will never use that again.
I'm gonna keep using it, man.
No.
Shazam Nana.
No.
No, I kneel before no one.
Going on outside when they ain't safe. from.
in this world. They're heroes
I feel the pain in my city wherever I go.
and they're villains. Heroes.
Okay, so I want to say that line that he says at 40 seconds of "I kneel before no one." Kudo to The Rock, because like you could just feel the weight of those.
Yeah,
words.
he was really bringing it on that line, and in the context of the rest of the speech of, I was born a slave, then reborn a god, and now I kneel before no one. That makes sense as a character motivation, and
Yeah, dude, that
and
is
to be fair,
like-
it's consistent with his origin in the comics as well, because that was what made the Council of Wizards pick Teth Adam originally, was they felt bad for him being a slave, and they thought they essentially tried to pull an Erskine from Captain America First Avenger of, the weak man with no strength knows the value of strength, the powerless man knows the value of power. Unfortunately, there
I
are
mean,
some
he technically
people who, given power, will go fucking nuts with it and get vengeance, and that's
I
what they
mean,
learned.
I mean, he technically does, but he's not. It's a type of. It's like a dark righteousness he has.
Yeah, I have power now, and I'm never going back to the way things were before.
Yeah,
Which is why, unlike Shazam, Black Adam very rarely calls out the name, because he never wants
if
to
anyone remembers,
return.
if anyone remembers the animated, I'm also kind of assuming if anyone remembers the animated short from DC Showcase of Superman and Shazam versus Black Adam. Since he's so old, right? If he says it, he would age to dust, given all the years he's lived. I kind of assume that's kind of my personal head. That as well.
Yeah, that and the fact that because the Wizards are no longer on his side, if he ever gives up the power again, they're never going to return it to him. They can't revoke it from him as long as he stays in that form. But if he ever returns to a normal human form, then he returns to how he was before, permanently.
Dragon Turtle, I believe you mean Shazam.
No.
No, I'm good with Shazam. Shazam Nana.
No.
I'm gonna keep saying it, man, no matter what the fuck you say.
Boot to the head.
I'm fine with that.
Nevertheless, Shazam.
Yeah, one sec. Move to the tab. Shazam Nana.
No.
Don't kill people. Well, I do. My vision has shown me the future.
Okay, so I have. So I do appreciate that this movie, while Black Adam is the protagonist, he is clearly the villain.
Yeah, it's a story from his perspective, but there is no equivocating here.
Yeah, like I get the Justice Society is technically the antagonist in terms of storytelling, but they are clearly in the right. See, but Black Adam is also like a character you can understand at the very least.
Yeah.
Don't agree with him, like what he's doing, like basically being the same type of tyrant that basically he was forced to kneel to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but also something I noticed, given Kent's line about my vision has shown me your fate, yada yada yada. I'm wondering if they aren't keeping the retcon from the Smallville show, and that Dr. Fate can see people's fates, maybe.
Which is really cool.
That, if we must keep retcons, then that is a retcon that I would gladly allow you to keep, because with Doctor Fate, it's always for me been about good retcons versus bad retcons. Good retcons are explaining why he's called Doctor Fate by explaining that he can see people's fates. That's a good retcon. Bad retcon is the possession bullshit because that weakens his character, Naboo's character, his powers as a character in general, and like the entire mythos of Doctor Fate gets screwed by the fucking possession retcon. But nevertheless, Shazam.
Hold on, sorry. Corona just posted this. Mazaz, please tell me you get that reference. It's vaguely familiar. I know it's a reference to Shazam in terms of like an evil version of him.
Saying it backwards is supposed to remove it.
Really?
Yeah.
So they retcon that now, right?
I am not
I had
sure.
assumed it was reference to the evil Shazam that was the son of Earth 3's Alex Luthor and Lois Lane.
It's possible that's also what they reuse concepts all the freaking time.
Yeah, so I'm not. I might need context for that, Chrono. I'm sorry. Like keep in mind, I'm like the youngest here, I assume. So I'm still learning stuff about a lot of things in comic history.
Yeah,
Earth
he's
3 Shazam was Lex. Thank you. Okay, I thought that was it. Okay.
yeah, okay. Anyway, Shazam.
Right. But yeah, also the Justice Society looked really cool.
Yeah. Again, I
don't
wish
think there's a bad cast in here. Granted, we haven't seen the younger one, which is Atom's Master and Cyclone.
Yeah. But again, I do hope that it's not a case of every time they want Pierce Brosnan to talk, he removes the helmet, because that's missing the point of the character. As much as I hope they're going with the Golden Age explanation of Naboo is an advisor and he whispers to Kent.
At the very least, I would love to see him in a full costume, even if he doesn't have the helmet on.
Yeah, like I need to actually see Dr. Fate before I'll be sad. Because I like that they're giving Kent more play because everyone, because of the possession retcon, doesn't think that the person wearing the helmet matters. But yeah, no, he does, especially Kent Nelson, and that's fine and all. But I hope it's not some kind of behind the scenes contract thing where Pierce Brosnan said, "I'm not wearing the helmet the entire movie, so you need to write a way around it." It's like, no, dude, if you're Dr. Fate, you're wearing the helm. In the same way that if you are a version of Doctor Strange, you're wearing the amulet of the Eye of Agamotto and the Cloak of Levitation everywhere you go, and there's virtually no reason to remove it.
Right. Okay. Moving on.
Yeah.
Shazam Nana.
Shazam.
You have two choices. You can be the destroyer of this world, or you can be its savior. That's up to you.
Okay, so they showed the, like, I guess, archaeologist lady and I believe her son, which I believe, and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, are supposed to technically be the reincarnations of his wife and son.
I think so.
Because I think that was a thing in the comics, right?
If I remember correctly, yes. In the New 52 version, anyway.
As bad as the New 52 is, it at least had some interesting concepts that I think could work.
Yeah. Because before then, Black Adam didn't really have anyone else to care about, really.
Yeah. Okay, so Lex Luthor killed the other Alex by saying it. What is the Mazat power still in the DC universe? I don't know, man. But yeah, I think this looks really cool. It's certainly better than a lot of movies that I have seen lately.
Mhm.
Specifically Marvel movies, not counting Multiverse of Madness.
Mhm.
Certainly better. I think this is honestly how the Eternal should have been.
Yeah.
To be honest, to be fair.
Mhm.
Um, Other than that, I don't think I have anything else to say. So shall we Shazam Nana?
We shall Shazam.
God, I could just hear I could just hear part of you dying every time I say that.
Yes, yes, you can. Enough with it already.
Nah, I'm keeping it on.
Boon to the head.
Move back to the head.
I'm wearing a hat. My head is there.
All right, boot to the face then.
Fair
How's
enough.
that?
Okay. Now then,
All right,
Shazam.
Shazam Nana.
Will you please stop?
Behind you!
Did he just catch a rocket?
Oh, sorry. I mean, it's not a bad scene. I do. It's kind of that thing of like my issue with like a lot of trailers is like they always try to end on a joke instead of
Mhm.
just having it be like you have all this like epic and you set the tone and stuff, and then you kind of break it with the end scene.
Yeah. But
I
it's
think
very
it's
obvious that joke is followed by a scene of him going freaking horror movie monster on some people. So
yeah, but yeah, no, I'm excited for this movie. I really am, and like I'll be honest, if I had seen this when I was younger, maybe like pre 2010, well, maybe a little, probably before I met Dalton, because he really
Mhm.
got me into Golden Age stuff.
Mhm.
I wouldn't have been as interested. Like if this movie had come out then and I'd seen this trailer, I think it would have been cool, but I wouldn't have been as big a fan mainly because I had not looked into this kind of stuff or anything.
Mhm.
But now, given more knowledge and the older I've gotten, this movie is just really cool, and I honestly cannot wait to see it.
Yeah. Between this and Shazam 2: Fury of the Gods, I'm betting that DC is gonna win the year with regards to the comic book movie wars.
Yeah. Also, the second Joker movie is apparently going to be a musical. I realized that might be something we cover next week, but I figured I'd say it now.
Yeah. I
I figured you would
I
be.
don't- I like they're both of those things I love, but I'm not sure they go together. Like I
Well,
love
okay,
musicals and I love the Joker, but I'm not sure.
see, I thought you'd be over the moon. You know.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, what made the first Joker special was leaning into the Scorseseism of it, and like, I don't know if that will mesh with the musical thing.
Right. Okay, that's weird.
Hmm.
October 21st is when it's supposed to come out.
Yep.
I don't know. This just. I'll be honest. This does come across as more of a summer movie to me, like August or September.
And Shazam comes out in December. So
Okay, that's actually not bad. That's actually not bad planning on their part. So.
yeah. The first Shazam really should have been a Christmas movie, honestly, but that's neither here nor there.
It actually, I think it was set on Christmas, right?
It was, and unfortunately they didn't release it then, which was weird. It's kind of like they set No Way Home during Christmas. Well, actually, no, that came out right around Christmas time, so it did make sense to have it when it was set. Okay, but anyway, next trailer. Oh, it's been a long day for some reason.
Oh yeah, sorry, I sent it up. Yeah, so this is something Dawn and I don't think we've ever actually like did a full on review of that series, but we are big fans of it. I think we've talked about it here before, but
Mhm.
this is the announcement trailer for Netflix's Castlevania Nocturne.
It got a sequel show, which I am not sure how optimistic I should be about it, but for a first look, this isn't terrible.
Right. Hold on. Let me. Yes, there are captions. Okay. If I remember correctly, this is supposed to be. God, I really should have done more research for this. I think it's based on a second or third like the original Castlevania games with the character, but I'm not too sure. Anyone in the comments who's a bigger Castlevania fan, please let us
It
know.
The character at play in this one is Richter Belmont, who is, I believe, the grandson of Sypha and Trevor, if I'm not
Trevor.
remembering my Castlevania lore. Because yeah, it's Richter
Yeah.
who's the main character this time.
Okay. Anyway, shall we?
So we're still not at Simon, but yeah.
Bloody Tears.
No.
It works.
No, it doesn't.
Works, you son of a.
I think we should just go with Banana because I can't think of anything Castlevania related that.
Blood Nana. I remember that we did that
Yeah.
before.
Blood Nana will do. Blood Nana.
Also, that one you're fine with, but Shazam Nana gets a no. Gets a hard no.
Yes, because Shazam is actually like it means a thing.
I know, but it's whatever. My comedy is wasted on.
All I'm saying is, if you want to do Shazam Nana, you have to come up with another like 4 entities for that to be drawn from somehow.
All right. Atlas, Nyx, and I want to say Apollo.
What about the second N? There are 2 N's there.
There. How was that?
You missed an N. There's a second N there.
Yeah, I okay. Okay. Atlas, Nyx. Fuck, what other gods have in names? Fuck. Greek. Oh. No, fuck it. I'm not. You know what? I'm not apologizing. I'm keeping that. Next time we do a Shazam trailer or a Black Adam trailer, I'm saying it. Fuck you.
No, you need to find another N-based god for it. Anyway,
Blood Nana.
Nana.
Don't listen to her, Rick.
I have no choice.
There's always a choice.
I'm sorry.
You know you should kill vampires.
But I pray for you.
I'm so sorry.
So part of you has died.
We're looking for someone called Belmont.
I'm curious who the villain is going to be this time, because obviously, for those that haven't seen the ending, Drac and Lisa got a happy ending at the end. So I'm not sure who, unless they follow the games and bring back Carmilla and like while possessing a skull mask.
I think I heard Death's laughing. I realize she's dead, where it was killed by Trevor, but if I remember correctly, the curse of the Belmonts is that they are to fight death, like the entity death.
Yeah, every generation or something like that. So Death's
Yes.
probably
So-
gonna make a comeback. Carmella's probably gonna make a comeback, and we'll probably see Saint Germain again because in my headcanon he escaped his own death by going into the Infinite Corridor, which is consistent with the game lore of him using the Infinite Corridor to basically teleport throughout time and space. So,
Right. Also, we heard in the voice there is a Alucard here, which he might take up a mentor role, which I think, and we'll see an
yeah,
older.
which is consistent. It's consistent with the role he plays in the games for the Belmont family. So yeah.
Right, which I think would be really cool. Hold on. Balchus, Apollo, Nikki, Nike, Goddess of Victory, Athena, Nocturne, and Anubis. Banana. Fuck, that's good.
I mean, sure, but
Why you gotta,
anyway,
why you gotta be a wet blanket, man? Why you gotta be a wet blanket?
because this is what I do.
But I'm also like curious about the title as well. You know, Castlevania Nocturne, and what that is meant to mean, because I'm sure it has a purpose.
Yeah, I'm sure it does somewhere, but
I'm
I
also
am worried slightly about Warren Ellis not being involved anymore because it might end up feeling like someone trying to recapture his style without him actually being there, which might come off
okay.
as bad.
That is true. I'm at least willing to hold out hope for the first season of if it's not just like a plain old miniseries.
Yeah, I'll give them the chance. I'm worried because so much of Castlevania's original style was Warren Ellis' baby. So and it was his idea originally to make it. So
yeah, that's completely fair. That's
the fact that he
fair.
got Me Too'd is somewhat disheartening here. But anyway, Blood Nana.
Well, I was gonna say like a couple more things. Again, I'm interested to see some characters that we have seen like a little older, like how time has changed them. Because I'm curious if we're gonna see like an older Isaac and Hector, or like the Styria under Isaac's role, and like how that's manifested over like 2 generations.
Yeah, that would be nice seeing a Kingdom of Isaac thing. Like maybe the story begins with him dying in his like deathbed as an old happy king.
Yeah. God, Isaac was so cool. Like I love that character.
He went from my least favorite character to my most favorite character in the span of a season.
I always found it like I wouldn't say he was my favorite character because my all-time favorite character of the Castlevania series was Alucard. Just from a generalized, on general purpose, like, he was just such a fascinating character. But I was always intrigued by Isaac, even like in his introduction and in season 2, even when he was like not the most
Fleshed out.
No, I think he was fleshed out. More so than Hector. In season 2, I
have a weird situation because of the two of them, I originally liked Hector better, but Hector kept getting cucked repeatedly.
Right.
And it wasn't until season 4 when he finally got his own back at the end that I was like, okay, good for you, Hector. You finally came back.
What I'm trying to get at is like I found him fascinating just from more of a psychological point, like how his methodology worked. And there are actually video essays that talk about his journey, which I think are really good and like kind of explain a lot about that character. I can't remember the names off the top of my head, and I'm sorry about that. But I just found him very fascinating. It's like kind of my fascination with Peacemaker from the Suicide Squad before like the Peacemaker show came out. Like in that sense, like I was so interested from like a writing standpoint of the character because there's a lot of subtleties to him that I don't think a lot of people pick up on. and like when you really see those start to like be expanded upon and delved further into. See ya, Dragon Turtle. He said, "Gotta go. Sorry, catch up later."
All right, see you, Dragon Turtle.
And so yeah, like I'm very. So yeah, like Isaac kind of was always an interesting character, but like in season 3 and season 4, primarily season 3, just because like we get to see his journey there.
Yeah, it's so much about him and his progression from full
Yeah.
tilt, uncompromising nihilism to, you know what, as long individual by individual basis kind of thing.
Yeah, and that's when he really cemented himself as like my favorite character of Castlevania.
Yeah,
Or
in
second favorite.
in season 3, he went from being my least favorite character in season 2 to my most favorite character by the end of
Yeah.
season 3.
Dude, the scene with him and the captain, that is like my all-time favorite scene of that series.
I also really like the scene with him and the shopkeeper as well.
Yeah, no, dude, that's really, dude, just Isaac in season 3 was just like the best storyline in my opinion of that season.
Yeah, it's honestly
no,
kind of the
like it was his storyline, then Alucard's, and then Sci-Fi Travelers. Like, no offense there, obviously. I'm just
like
those.
Sypha and Trevor were not the most interesting part of season 3 at all.
I think it was the more Cloud9 aspect of it, and like after they defeated Dracula and stuff, they were on Cloud9.
Yeah.
Totally get that.
Yeah, for me it went Isaac and his travels, then Hector and Lenore, then
Oh.
Saint Germain, then Alucard, and then Sypha and Trevor's thing.
I totally forgot about those other storylines. It's just that those main 3 were the ones that caught my eye the most.
Mm-hmm.
I realize it's weird, kind of bad to say.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm not like this does remind me that I need to get Netflix again. Sign up for Netflix.
Yes, you do. If for no other reason, then you need to be there while I bitch and moan about how awful Sandman is when it comes out in August.
Joy, get to hear all that. No offense, obviously.
Hey, how many times have you rambled about how Tom Holland Spider-Man is useless?
No, I talked about how misused he was.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't talk about it often, only when it really comes up.
Sure.
Blood Nana?
Blood Nana.
Okay. Yeah. Also, it does look like they're using the same at least a good. Even though like it's mostly a still shot, it still looks like
it's still the proper animation style at least, and they seem to have put budget into it.
Yeah. I'm gonna mute for a second.
Mm-hmm.
Right, but closing thoughts on Castlevania Nocturne. I am optimistic. If it does suck, I'll be one of the first guys to say it sucks.
Mm-hmm. I'm just curious what they're gonna do because they gave Dracula a happy ending. Are they gonna have Lisa die again and him go off the deep end again, or?
I would assume she's mortal again, and he's a vampire. So
Yeah, so she's gonna die eventually. But I'm hoping that he's not gonna go off the deep end just because she dies a natural death or something. Because I don't need Dracula to be the villain again just because they
Well,
gave
they
him
do.
a happy ending. It was a good happy ending. I'd rather they use some of the other villains they set up, like Death or like Carmilla,
Or Striga and
Marana. Yeah,
they were really cool in season 4. Like,
yeah. Speaking of how you properly do a diverse set of characters, they were lesbians and one of them was black and nobody gave a fuck because they were
No,
well written and believable characters.
I think she was Indian. I think.
Hmm?
I think she was Indian.
I
I-
think
Okay, don't quote me on
Miranda
it.
is supposed to be African, but I don't know.
I can't tell.
I
She's a
I know Striga is supposed to be like Eastern European, but I think Miranda is supposed to be African.
I honestly can't tell. Like it's the ears that kind of throw me off. I think.
Yeah, it's the vampire ears
Yeah,
change
like
things.
there are vampiric features that it's just kind of hard to tell. Like I get the skin color and all. Obviously, I don't know. Like, it's weird.
Yeah,
Granted,
but nevertheless, that is how you do an actual gay couple that people can give a fuck about because they're just characters that happen
also,
to be gay.
that Striga scene in season 4, where it was basically an homage to Berserk,
The day armor scene.
Yeah.
Damn.
which makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I mean, if you know one of your only weaknesses is daylight, then get yourself some fucking blackout armor.
I loved like
Especially-
the glass piece, right?
Yeah,
Where like it looks like
yeah,
it
the
looks,
little like visor thing she had.
yeah, it
That
looks
almost
like
made her look like a raven.
it looks like a guard piece for the mouth. And like for the longest time, every time I would watch that scene, I kept thinking that where the eyes were technically were for, like designed on the helmet, that's where her
Mhm.
face was, like her actual face.
Yeah.
I kept forgetting that was the top part of a fucking helmet, which I think in world is also a tactical decision because she is a soldier.
Yeah.
It draws away the people's eyes. Granted, the glass is gold plated, so that could also draw enemies there to fire at it. But I think it's strong enough that it can handle some arrows.
Yeah. I mean, it's freaking vampire armor, so one assumes it's made to withstand some punishment.
Yeah. Anyway, this is another Netflix thing. We got another one of that after this one. This is the Wednesday Addams reveal trailer. Dom sent me this. You sent me this, right, Dom?
I did, yes.
So, I don't really have anything.
Yeah, just banana.
Gonna.
I'm glad they're bringing Tim Burton back in because I always wondered what Christina Ricci's Wednesday would be like as an adult.
He technically didn't make those movies, right?
Hmm?
He didn't make those. He produced them, but he didn't make them.
Right, I know. It was Henry Selick, right?
Like, give me a second. Like, it's gonna bug me too. Like, I don't look it up.
Yeah.
I wonder if they're gonna take inspiration because I don't know. It's weird that I bring this up, but I wonder if anyone knows the Adult Wednesday series that was on YouTube.
Yeah, the YouTube short series that canceled because she didn't have the rights to Wednesday. Which is foul play, YouTube. You should have just let her make the thing.
Wasn't it a fan project?
Yes, it was. It was her fan project.
No, there are hundreds of fan films on. You know what? God damn it!
But she was popular, and therefore,
Oh please! I have
They-
seen a dozen of Batman, well-made Batman fan films that have gone super fucking popular. Batman Dead End, granted that was actually made before YouTube, but got uploaded to YouTube. What the fuck? Okay, but
yeah,
sucks.
screw your failure to abide by fair use, YouTube. You should have let the woman make her thing, but
That was a great series. You know,
yeah. And it was believable as an extension of Wednesdayness as well. But that's neither here nor there. Banana.
Yeah. Oh, one sec. I'm just okay. Barry Sonnenfeld.
Oh, okay.
Wait. Um, yeah, Barry Sonnenfeld
Hmm.
or Son. No, yeah, Sonnenfeld.
Yeah, you got it right. Anyway, banana.
I thought it said Field at first, so I was just double
Yeah.
checking.
Hmm.
No.
Yep.
Let's see. Okay. I don't think this is a continuation of the Addams Family series, though, because I think that's a different actress.
Unless they did actually bring back Christina Ricci, but I can't tell based on what she looks like.
No, I think that's a different actress. I'm gonna look up real quick just so you
Okay.
know. I did also want to bring up the Thing.
Yeah.
Because it looks a bit different because it's usually just a regular hand, right? Just disembodied.
Yeah.
Well, here it looks like he's been stitched together like a Frankenstein hand.
A little bit, yeah.
So, I mean, I think that's cool. I think that actually also provides a
Yeah,
little
it's
more.
nice. It's nice detail. It's a good touch.
Yeah, I think and that also does provide a little more explanation of Thing.
Yeah.
It is Thing, right?
It is Thing, yes.
Okay, for some reason, I'm always confused on whether or not Thing is the furry cousin or the hand.
No. The cousin with fur is Cousin It, and
Okay.
the hand is Thing.
Okay. Jenny Ortega. Wait, Jenny Ortega. No, Christina
What else
Ricci
has
is.
she been in?
Yeah, Christina Ricci is here. Is in this apparently.
Who's she playing?
Doesn't say.
Hmm.
Okay.
It'd be interesting if she was cast as Morticia. That'd be a nice way of passing the torch.
Okay, I think I've seen this actress before. Yeah, Jenny Ortega. Okay, the she was on Jane the Virgin, played young Jane. Oh, okay. So yeah, she was on a show called Stuck in the Middle. I've watched it a bit. Not a bad series. It's part of the Babysitter Killer Queen movie.
Is she related to Kenny Ortega?
Give me one second. I just want to see a few more things that she's in. A lot of Disney stuff,
Mm-hmm.
which makes sense. Okay, hold on.
Yeah, because she's young.
All right. Overview. Natalie Ortega. Don't know. No, I don't think she's related. Huh. I do. Okay, so they have a list here of who's playing who. for the cast of Wednesday. Okay, Luis Guzman is playing Gomez Adams.
Okay, that's decent casting.
Catherine Zeta-Jones is playing Morticia Adams, which I believe she played.
Okay, that's some pretty amazing casting there. Damn.
Didn't she play it in the original?
No,
No.
that was Angelica Houston
Oh,
played
okay.
Morticia in the.
Sorry, I'm looking at a picture of her right now, and she looks very similar. So, okay, Lorch, played by a guy named George Rupera. Oh, Gwendolyn Christie is in this.
Okay, who's she playing?
Larissa Weems. I don't know who that is.
I guess since they had Gwendolyn Christie on lock for Lucifer, they were like, "Hey, why don't you also be in this thing?" She was like, "Okay."
Not a bad casting, honestly.
Who is Christina Ricci playing though?
It doesn't say. I'm being legitimate here. It doesn't say.
That's so infuriating.
Or it could be like I don't know, like even a surprise of someone. I don't.
Maybe she plays an older version of Wednesday, and then this series is like her flashbacks of when she was a teenager or something.
Right. Let me check the IMDb because Google might not be giving me the full thing.
Yeah. Behold the IMDb overlords.
Right. But I mean, okay, I'm gonna be honest. I'm not like a super fan like Dalton is of the Addams Family.
Yeah,
But
his thing is the Munsters, which we'll get into shortly.
Yeah. But I am intrigued by this.
Yeah.
Oh. Also, there's a plot here.
Okay.
Follow Wednesday Adams' years as a student when she attempts to master her emerging psychic ability, thwart and solve the mystery that embroiled her parents. Okay.
Wednesday Adams is psychic. That's interesting. Not the route I would have gone with it, but interesting.
The cast and crew. Cast. It's so fucking slow. I'm looking on this my phone, by the way. Okay. Yeah, it doesn't say who she is. Like Christina Ricci doesn't say who she is.
But it does say she's in this.
Yeah, like all 8 episodes.
Yeah, I'm thinking she might be the older Wednesday, and the series might be framed in flashback form. With Jenny playing the younger Wednesday.
Right. Okay.
Anyway, banana.
No, we ended it already. I just pulled it back so we have an image to talk about.
Yep.
All right. Give me a second.
Oh dear. Why can I not stop yawning all of a sudden?
Okay, so this is another thing from that last thing we covered from Netflix. Still within the garb of spooky. Dalton sent me this too.
Mm-hmm.
Or I think I sent also, like before you sent it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, this is Guillermo del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities. And that name sounds very familiar, so which makes me think there's
It's a term from the 16th and 17th century, and it was something that aristocrats would have, especially if they were also scholars, where they would collect like bizarre animals, magical artifacts, oddities of various descriptions, and so on and so forth.
basically a mystery box that actually had mystery in it.
Well, it was more like a it was more like a personal museum collection kind of, and it was also the title of Del Toro's autobiography / publication of all his personal notebooks, which I also own. It's one of the reasons I really like Guillermo del Toro, because we seem to be cut from the same cloth in terms of loving the kind of late Renaissance mystical period.
Right. Shall we banana?
We chow banana.
Yeah, there's nothing really I can. Yeah, just banana. I like this. I like this a lot. Just going off the first 20.
Yeah, there's some atmosphere going on here, which I wish it was more on brand with the whole Cabinet of Curiosities thing, but I think this is supposed to be kind of Guillermo del Toro's answer to like the Twilight Zone.
Yeah, I was kind of like I was gonna say that as like this does strike me as a better version. This strikes me more as like a modern day Twilight Zone.
Yeah, I hope that there is actually going to. I hope there is actually going to be a Cabinet of Curiosities involved, and like each story could be centered on an object in that cabinet. That would be a really cool framing device.
Yeah, that like the beginning of Aladdin, right?
Yeah, because otherwise it'd just be a lame title gimmick, and I expect more from Guillermo del Toro, and I think so does Guillermo del Toro. So I think there will actually be a Cabinet of Curiosities, kind of similar also to, if you've ever seen some of the like movie length episodes of R.L. Stein's Goosebumps, how he'll always appear on the screen with the artifact from the show and like set up the story, kind of similar to that.
Yeah. But again, I love how it looks, man. It's just so. And I always feel like I'm sounding either pretentious or I'm just. I say it too often, but it looks cinematic.
Yeah.
Just from like the just kind of still, like even if like my general idea is like you pause at every frame here.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically a wallpaper.
Well, I mean, it's Guillermo del Toro, and it's a passion project of his, so I can't imagine it would look anything else than artful. But
yeah. Yeah,
banana?
It looks really cool in banana. I will say that's actually a good amount of like horror, because this does seem to like really center around horror and kind of supernatural horror also.
Again, it's Guillermo del Toro's take on the Twilight Zone, is I'm
Twilight Zone was kind of like I would say, like if we're talking original Twilight Zone,
Hmm.
sci-fi, little mysticism, and other.
Hmm.
Um, this just strikes me as like full on supernatural
Yeah.
Twilight Zone.
Which, knowing Guillermo, that makes sense, kind of.
Yeah. I also want to say the music really helps sell this.
Hmm.
I think people always tend to forget is that there when like editing a trailer, and I've edited trailers myself, like
Mhm.
Fan One, all that, right?
Hmm.
Is that a trailer, even if like you do like just really intricate editing for it,
Hmm.
the music sells everything.
No, it's an element of atmosphere.
Yeah, like it's like everyone always tends to forget that. Like that just one little element and everything can just go
Hmm.
shit.
Yeah,
Sure, we've seen our fair share of bad trailers, right?
we
Over
have.
the yeah. This is a good trailer.
Hmm.
Granted, every trailer we've seen so far, even like the teasers, are good trailers.
Hmm.
Just because like they do a good way of a good way of showing the topics, the ideas, the story, or just selling you on something.
Hmm.
And this is selling me immensely so. Uh, Either way, banana.
Banana.
Yeah, I got none, man. It's just I'm here for it.
Mm. So
Banana.
banana.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's coming 2022. Last one for the night. Give me a second. All right. This one I really wanted to cover, so that's why I made it last. Like Dalton said earlier when we were talking about the Wednesday trailer, I'm not like there's nothing against the Addams Family. Like I think it's cool and all. It's just I grew up with the Munsters, uh, and this is the teaser trailer for Rob Zombie's The Munsters. And I've been really excited to talk about this, just because we finally get a real instead of just still images.
Look at what it's supposed to be. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, while I'm a fan of both, like I said, I grew up with this, and I kind of have a more attachment to it, simply because I kind of see, I've seen my family kind of like the Munsters, which are basically we're weirdos, but we're also just dudes. We're just people.
Hmm. And that's part of the reason why I always felt more bonded to the Addams, is because they're weird and they embrace their weird, whereas the Munsters are more standard suburban family. They just happen to be monsters.
Fair enough. I do think, and I had a brief conversation with my uncle yesterday when I talked about this trailer,
Mhm.
is that this is like a theory. I kind of guess is this is technically a prequel because we have not seen Eddie or the niece who I can't remember her name off the top of my head because it's been a while since I've seen the monsters.
Eddie or
You know, the niece who looked like a regular person.
right. Not Valeria, is it? That doesn't sound right.
I was gonna say Nina, but I'm not entirely sure on that one.
Is it Wilhelmina? Maybe.
Give me a second. I'm looking it up just because like it's gonna bug me.
Yeah, it's gonna bother me if I can't think of the name. Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Um, Maryland.
Maryland monster. Okay, yeah.
How the fuck did
I don't know. Anyway. Banana?
right? Yeah, like I said, I think this is a prequel to that, and if this does well enough, we'll see Eddie.
We'll get
and,
monster movies out of it, yeah.
yeah, we'll see the expansion of the family. But I think this is like how Herman and Lily met, kind of the just that. It could be like a romance movie, which I'm kind of cool. I'm cool with. You know, like a horror romance movie, like The Corpse Bride. Actually, a lot of Tim Burton movies. To
Yeah.
be honest, like Edward Scissorhands.
Jack and Sally from Nightmare Before Christmas.
I mean, that was more of a subplot. I'm talking like a full-on horror romance.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. Anyway, shall we?
Banana.
But okay, so just overall, this looks fun.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like everyone, like it has heart and it's fun. Like not just everyone put their heart and soul into this,
Mm-hmm.
but everyone had fun.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that is something that I will value in movie making is if everyone from like the cast and crew can have fun on set when making this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Just like the passion, you can feel that.
Yeah.
Even if a movie's good, but it had shitty things off screen and stuff.
But
you know?
everyone was miserable when they made it, you can tell. Yeah.
Yeah. But here it's both fun and just heartfelt. Like there's a genuine sincerity here, which I totally
They're
get from
geeking out is the thing. They're geeking out.
Yeah.
They know they're making a monsters movie and everyone is here for it. So
yeah. Like Rob Zombie is a fan, like a legit fan of the monsters, and that's even why like he pushed for the PG rating. Like which again,
because
totally
he wanted a movie that you could take your kids to, basically.
Yeah. Like he like legitimately I was surprised by that, you know, because he usually makes R-rated films.
Yeah.
Compare
this to the animated Addams Family from a couple of years ago. It very much seems like the Rob Zombie and crew understand the monsters a hell of a lot better than the animated Addams Family movies understand the Addams.
Yeah. There is a YouTuber that I remember who first talked about this, like when the first stills of the movie came out.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Wolfula. I don't know if anyone knows who that YouTuber is. I'm subscribed
I
to. I
do.
watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I watch a few of his videos. He's really fun. You know. Also, justice for Gulag, by the way.
Hmm.
Just because like he gets shit on all the time, and I feel really bad for him.
Hmm.
But I can kind of understand like Sherry Moon, who's playing Lily Munster, who is Rob Zombie's wife, who plays in like all his movies. I could totally get the like Dr. Wolfula brought up like the thing about nepotism in terms of this, and I can understand that. I do, but I.
Let's be fair. Rob Zombie just wants to be able to say he's married to Lily Munster, and I don't think Sharon
Well,
is complaining.
She is in all of his movies, which honestly I don't see a problem with that personally. I just hope she can.
And I bet she's a big fan of the. I bet she's a big fan of them too, so it works.
But yeah, like again, man, I'm really excited for this movie because everything I've seen so far hasn't really turned me off to it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like this is like
I do hope that not the whole movie is in black and white though. I want to see the monsters in color. Just because that
well, I do hope for the record, again, you can very much tell that this is a passion project and made of love, like a project made of love because it's homaging the very intro to the show, to the original show.
Yeah, I know that's what they're doing. I'm just saying. I hope the movie has color in it.
Right. Again, I'm just pointing that out because, like, no one does that. No one does that in such like. There's no. I'm sorry. Like
because no one cares anymore, unfortunately.
Right, and like it shocks me and it fucking hits me in my heart. Like I can't tell you how fucking like. God damn it! I'm starting to get teary-eyed. Fuck. Just because like it really. There is a level of sincerity here that I have not seen in like a decade in terms of projects.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that it is with one of my favorite properties that I grew up with, watching reruns of on TV Land when I was a kid. Like I watched this when I also watched reruns of the Three Stooges on TV. Like the original stuff. And no, it wasn't TV Land. It was something else, but I don't remember what it was.
I think between the two of us, we could give Wanda a run for her money when it comes to old sitcoms.
Yeah, it really just hits me because this really is a labor of love, and like I have always like it's always been in the back of my mind, but I've always wanted to see a rebirth of the monsters in modern cinema or in modern culture, and to get some recognition, just like the Addams Family.
Yeah.
And I hope with this, I genuinely hope, like bottom of my heart here, that it does. And if it is shit, if it is bad, not only am I going to be, I will refute all my praise that I've said here.
Mm-hmm.
I won't lie, it might break my heart a bit.
Uh-huh.
But as far as I see, like it doesn't look like this is going to be bad. And I'm so fucking excited. Like I think you can tell by how I'm talking right now. Like I'm trying to hold. I'm like my heart is racing right now, just of how absolutely excited I am.
Well, good.
Okay, so Banana.
I can't really say anything to follow that, can I? It's just, this is your thing, so I'm just gonna let you have it.
Fuck. God damn. Give me a second. I can fucking blink my eyes. Oh.
Take your time. Take your time. It's good that these things happen, so take your time. It makes dealing with all the other bullshit worth it when this happens. So
Fuck. Oh my god. It's, fuck. I'm sorry. I rarely fan. I rarely do.
also worth noting. Also worth noting. I know your standard is with a piece of media. If it can make you cry, it's good. Then I will point out as your friend that this is just the trailer, and you're already on the verge of tears. Imagine what this movie is gonna do to you.
Like, I'm sorry. I just like. I think this is the first time I've ever genuinely fanboyed about something on this podcast, or actually ever.
Yay.
Honestly, like even in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck. Okay, so banana.
Banana.
Oh, that's weird. Now in living color. Yeah, I was actually it was actually funny. I seen this trailer, like I watched this a few times, so I was trying to hold back a little bit of laughter when you said you wished it was going to be in black in color too.
Yeah. But I like the homage to the black and white aesthetic, but at the same time, like I'm not sure I could handle a whole movie of it.
Well, I think the thing is like it's very flat, which was actually it made sense back then, obviously because it was on sets and stuff.
Yeah, Brainstormer. Are you still there? Uh, you appear to have glitched out. I'm not sure if it's on your end or mine. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, sorry, I think it was on my end.
I think so.
Yeah, so I just and let me reopen the Monsters
Trailer.
trailer.
Yep.
Yeah, so give me a second. Okay. Sharing now. There we go. Screen.
Banana?
Yeah, but then.
Well, now what?
Oh, I'm so fucking excited.
Yay.
I'm sorry. It's just like holy fuck. Like just this one scene. Like just how it looks.
Mm.
Like they even have the actors painted, like I think in a way that actually looked like from like one of the movies that they had tried to do for like a reboot of the
Mhm.
Monsters back then, and it looks good.
Mhm.
You know, like the green skin on Herman looks fantastic. The paleness of Grandpa, and oh my god, I'm just this looks like a Tim Burton film. You know, but
Well,
I
to be fair, it's better than most of what Tim Burton has been able to do for the last like 20 years.
yeah, I'd argue better than Tim
Yeah.
Burton, just in style, in color, and just again, this is how you do like a reboot or whatever the fuck this is, like a
Mhm.
spiritual successor to this property.
Mhm.
You know, it's just there's God, just how everything looks. There is such a passion to it.
Mhm.
But like it gets me so like it touches me, you know, like in my soul, you know,
Mhm.
like even you know what I'm gonna say it. Even if other people fucking hate this movie, I'm gonna love it so goddamn much. I'm just
Take your time. Take your time. It's your show, man.
I'm sorry. It's just like fuck, man. This is just so fucking cool, you know.
Mhm.
Like when you know, I won't lie. Like originally when I heard the announcement, yeah, I was a bit worried, you know, because Rob Zombie does have that kind of reputation of, you know. Granted, I don't think the Halloween movies were entirely his fault, but
No.
even like his original projects were a bit out there and a bit weird, even in
Yeah.
terms of monsters and stuff,
Mhm.
and a bit crude and crass, you know. So,
Mhm.
but like seeing the photos, seeing like set designs online, and really taking a look into this, and,
Mhm.
and then this teaser, like my God, does this man love the monsters? And I fucking love him for it.
Mhm.
Just because like you don't get directors like that anymore. Who
Yeah, and
love
when you do, they don't get paired with the project because we have to subvert things and and there's
like
no intrinsic value here to her and
God, sorry, I need to get through the water. Like fuck. My mouth is drying up from this.
take your time. Take your time.
I'm just I'm sorry, like it just
No, it's good. These moments make all the fucking stupid bullshit worth it. So
like it like we get a win for once, you know, like in terms of like an actual sincere, not just homage, but successor to a property that hasn't been around in decades, but has a loyal fan base, and you know,
hmm
I've been let down with Star Wars. I've been let down with Transformers. I've been let down with like Teen Titans, you know, Titans, Superman
and Teen
too.
Titans Go.
I was just trying to keep a reference to live action stuff,
hmm
and you know, Superman too, and like that's, and again, I'm never gonna blame the actor for it because just because like Henry Cavill was awesome, but this this works because everyone seems to be cast in the role that they're made for. The directors,
hmm
the set dressers, the costumers, they all work their asses off, and you can see it.
Mm.
And I'm just like I generally like genuinely right now am just so fucking elated by it. I don't think, like, no offense, Don, but I don't think you can really grasp how this makes me feel.
No, I can't, and that's why I'm letting you go. Because I don't want to harsh your mellow.
Yeah, it's just I'm looking so forward to this. I really am, and we are covering it on this fucking channel. Like, I will sing
Yes,
fucking
yes, I know.
just yeah, yeah. I'm just fuck. I'm just
Take your time, let it out. No one's stopping you.
it's just really cool, man. Like it's really cool, and I cannot wait for this. That's really all I got left to say.
hmm
So, with that, folks, I want to say goodbye, adios, aloha, abidase, sayonara, peace, cheers, and
Fuck off.